has an exclusive. Biden plans feisty economic reset. Let me read you the start of it. President Biden will use tonight's State of the Union to address to admit that prices are still too high in some areas, but argue that things were worse under President Trump. So gas prices were down, inflation was down, interest rates were down, unemployment was down. First of all, I can't believe, like these guys in the media are like, yes, thank you. Can I have another? What is up with that? Every statistic proves that that's a false narrative. Are they just trying to think that people are going to buy this? Do they think the press will carry their water? Do they think that we don't remember? Is he just trying to paint an alternative? I don't understand literally how you could pull that off.
Well, they're trying to listen, get your lipstick ready. I mean, Maybelline, come on, because there's going to be more lipstick put on this pig that is the economy than we've ever seen before tonight. And I was actually looking up some of those stats. And we talk about inflation and core inflation, but the reality is there's what we call essential inflation, the things I have to live, right? I got to have food. Well, guess what? Since the president has taken office, it has compounded increased, and it's sitting here today at a compounded increase of 23%.
Right.
And energy, which I need not only to get to work and heat my house, but also all the stuff that I buy, it gets delivered on energy. Even those EV vehicles, guess what? They're getting charged with natural fossil fuels. All of that, 43% compounded increase since this president has taken office. And, it's interesting. I was thinking about this too. When President Biden was running as candidate Biden the first time around, he was talking about the stock market. The stock market only matters to the elite. It doesn't really matter. Now he's out there saying, look how great the stock market is. Well, guess what? The stock market ain't the supermarket. And right now, voters aren't voting on the aggregate this time around, meaning that they are individually going into that booth and thinking about where are they in their world today. And I think what this president's going to try to do today is paint that lipstick and hope that people vote in the aggregate. But they're not going to, because they're going to look at where they are, and the supermarket means a lot more than the stock market right now.
I agree. This is where they're missing the boat on this. Okay. Welcome. It's State of the Union night. That was a little bit of the show from earlier today. I want to start showing you what's happening at the State of the Union right now. The speech is supposed to start at 9 o'clock sharp. So what happens prior to that? You get the Joint Chiefs, the diplomatic corps, the Supreme Court, members of the cabinet. Now, what will happen is you will see in just a short time, Speaker Johnson will gavel this in, and he will start to say they will appoint a group of bipartisan members of the chamber. It's like everyone and their brother. It's the leadership from both chambers. They will go outside, and then they will escort them inside. But you will hear at one point the sergeant at arms come in and say, Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States, Mr. Speaker, actually he'll come in first and say, the cabinet, and they will come in and slowly. As you guys may or may not know, I don't want to be presumptuous here, there's always a designated survivor, right? Someone in the line of succession who has to sit it out. They started doing this during the Cold War. The idea is, God forbid something were to happen, someone in the line of succession stays behind, goes to an undisclosed secure location. And so the line of succession is the president, then the vice president, then the Speaker of the House, the president pro tem of the Senate. Well, they're all there, right? So then you've got the cabinet, and there's a ascending and descending order that's like Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, and Secretary of the Treasury, and it goes by when they were brought into the cabinet. It goes all the way down. Well, two of them have to sit. I mean, one of them sits it out, and it's usually somebody who's clearly not going to be highlighted, so it could be the EPA or something, whatever. Interesting little fun fact for tonight, though. You obviously you can be in the line of succession. That doesn't mean you can be president necessarily if you don't meet the requirements. Alejandro Mayorkas, who he's currently being impeached. Beyond that, though, he was born in Cuba, so he's not eligible to be president. So he won't be the designated survivor. That guarantees he's going to be there. Plus the fact that obviously immigration is going to be a topic tonight. And then Jennifer Granholm, the former Michigan governor, is currently the energy secretary. She was born in Canada. So she gets to be there because, well, why? Because you were born in Canada. And so you can't be, even though you're a naturalized citizen, you can't be the president of the United States. So that's that. By the way, while we're waiting, I wonder if I can ask the team to pull this up. I sent out this funny tweet. I mentioned it on the show tonight. earlier today, I just said the White House has announced that there's going to be 2 intermissions. It was a joke. And I even said it in one of the comments afterwards. This is a joke. USA Today, there it is right there. This thing has now been seen by 2.5 million people. 2.5, 2.6, I guess, we just got another 100,000 views. I mean, it's a joke, right? I wanted to make the point that, it's going to be tough for Biden to do this. So anyway, USA Today and Yahoo News fact-checked me. Now, again, I put in the comments right below, look at this is USA Today. They won't fact check Biden, but they'll fact check a joke I put up there. I mean, insane, right? They literally won't fact check Biden, but a joke that I make on Twitter, they put and there's the Yahoo one. I mean, fact check, rumor alleges there'll be 2 intermissions. It wasn't a rumor. It was a joke I put on Twitter and said it's a joke. I get that a lot of Democrats are pretty defensive these days. I don't even know how to take this. I guess it's a compliment. Anyway, you see a bunch of the Dem women dressed in white tonight. There's always some stunt that they pull to try to get attention tonight. So there you go. They're going to do that. I worked up on Capitol Hill for off and on, 11 years, something like that. It's interesting to see that main corridor. You see, we're kind of shooting the camera angle comes right down right now, where they're all coming in right here. And you'll see a lot of the members, especially rank and file, lower rank and file members, will get it there hours before because they want that aisle seat. They want to get the 2 seconds that the president comes down the aisle and shaking his hand, thinking that somehow they're going to look important because they shook the president of the United States' hand. I have a feeling you're going to see more Democrats do that than Republicans clamor. But there's always a couple people who just want to get some attention and get a couple seconds of screen time. It'll be interesting to see what, if any, Republicans are part of that. You'll see the tables that are there. Those are the leadership tables on both sides. So when we're looking at if you're at the rostrum where the president will give the speech, where you saw Speaker Johnson and Kamala Harris. So if you look from where they are now, looking out on our right, their left is the Republican side of the House, and on the left, on where Kamala is where the Democrats sit. Now, that's the House members. The senators will kind of, find a seat somewhere in there. Generally, they'll try to sit on the same side as their party. Those front rows you'll see are reserved for the cabinet and the Joint Chiefs and members of the Supreme Court. You will see some members of the diplomatic corps come in. That's again, those are the primary groups. And then up top, we can't really see it, but if you see off to the high right and the high left, the camera angle won't allow us to do that. Those are the House galleries. If we're staring at the flag right now, we're looking off to the right side and up, is the First Lady's box. That is where you will see the president look. Obviously, the First Lady, Jill Biden, will be up there, and the second gentleman, he will be up there. All of their guests will be there. So when Biden calls them out by name to highlight, it's going to be a lot of abortion tonight. When he calls that out, that's where he'll be looking. They've already announced those guests. And I think you're going to hear a lot about, yep, there we go. Wow, look at that. They're taking the cues from me. That's the House gallery. We're seeing those various boxes up there are where most of the members. On the other side where we can't see, our backs is to this side, is where the First Lady's box is. What we're looking at, those galleries up there, each member of the House and the Senate gets one guest ticket. They could bring a family member, a spouse or a kid, cousin or whatever, or sometimes they bring a staff member, a constituent. What you're seeing more and more, and we talked to Congresswoman Kat Cammack about this yesterday, that you see them bringing somebody that they want to highlight. Maybe it's, in her case, it was a gentleman whose daughter was killed by fentanyl, and she wants to highlight that. Okay, so here we go. Speaker Johnson calling it to order. With the volume up just a bit. So, as I mentioned, he's going to read off
Mr. Scalise,
all the House leadership.
Minnesota, Mr. Emmer, the gentlewoman from New York, Ms. Stefanik, the gentleman from North Carolina, Mr. Hudson.
These are all the Republican members of leadership. Richard Hudson, the NRCC chairman, Elise Stefanik.
Mr. Moore.
And so what they'll do,
Michigan, Mrs. McClain.
Okay, so this is going all the way down, the House Republican secretary, blah, 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 blah. And then they'll go over.
Oklahoma, Mr. Cole.
Cole
The
is the
gentleman
chairman
from
of the Rules
Pennsylvania,
Committee.
Mr. Reschenthaler.
Okay.
Gentleman from Kentucky, Mr. Rogers. Gentleman from
And
New
then
York,
what they're going to do when they
Mr.
get through the
Jeffries.
Republicans, they'll talk
Gentlewoman
about
from
the
Massachusetts, Ms. Clark.
Democrats who will escort the president.
Gentleman from California, Mr. Aguilar. The gentleman from California, Mr. Liu. The gentlewoman from Washington, Ms. Del Bene. The gentleman from Colorado, Mr. Neguse. The gentlewoman from Illinois, Ms. Underwood.
These are all the
Gentlewoman
Democrats. You'll
from
see them leave the
Texas, Ms.
chamber. They go
Escobar.
out
Gentlewoman
into
from
the speaker's
Massachusetts,
gallery, which
Ms.
is you can see them
Frahad.
heading out.
Gentleman from
They're
Michigan,
clearly picking
Mr.
up a lot of
Kildee.
the folks, the women in the white, because they want to make a statement. They'll go out. They'll kind of
The
make a
President of the
U-turn.
Senate, at the direction of that body, appoints
Remember, the
following
vice president is
senators
also the
as
president of the
members
Senate.
the committee on the
So
part
she's going to
of the
name
pres-
the
of
same thing,
Senate
the
to escort the President of the United States
Republican
into the
leadership, then
House
or she'll
chamber.
start with the
The
Dems because
Senator
they're.
from New York, Mr. Schumer.
Here we go.
The Senator from Illinois, Mr. Durbin.
Oh,
The
please
Senator
don't
from
cackle.
Washington, Mrs. Murray. The
All right.
Senator from Michigan, Ms. Stabenow. The Senator from
Aren't you
Minnesota,
supposed to not wear
Mr.
white, or is that
Clocher.
off-white? I can't tell.
The Senator
Isn't
from
that-
Virginia,
yeah.
Mr.
Anyway.
Warner. The Senator from Wisconsin, Ms.
I mean,
Walden.
whatever. We've got like 40 people
Senator
that lead the
from
president in,
Kentucky,
and they
Mr.
literally will
O'Connell.
all go out that chamber.
The
They'll
Senator
loop
from
back
South
to the
Dakota,
other
Mr.
side where the president's
Thune.
holding,
The
and then
Senator
they all
from
walk in
Iowa,
ahead of him.
Mr.
We'll see this in a
Barrasso.
second. I mean, I get it's
The
all pomp
Senator
and
from West
circumstance.
Virginia, Mrs. Capito. And the Senator from Iowa, Ms. Ernst.
She got through
The
that
members
without a
of the
cackle
escort committee
or any
will
kind of
exit the
silliness.
chamber through the lobby doors.
Okay, here we go. They should have just gotten him out there in the first place, right? It's like, I mean, you should expect to see the state of confusion. It is going to be interesting to see, by the way, how long this thing goes. We'll get a copy. The White House generally sends it out. Now, I get asked this all the time. Do they all get a copy of this? If they did, if this thing was done, you'll see the members in their seats page through it. What does that mean? It means that the president locked in that speech probably at least by early this morning, if not yesterday. When I was with President Trump, no way, right? He was editing up until the moment. And so we would pump it out probably 10 minutes in. The White House will send out the thing. Sometimes they'll send out excerpts because of the speech. There's 5 or 6 themes. They'll get those out to the press corps. But as soon as he's probably gone 5 minutes, I would expect them to.
Mr. Speaker,
Here we go.
The Dean of the Diplomatic Corps.
The Dean of the Diplomatic Corps. Okay, so there you go. By the way, as I mentioned, that's Matt Gaetz right there trying to get a good TV seat, they call him. But so you've got the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps. This is whoever the longest serving ambassador to the U.S. is. I don't know who that is. It's probably someone from a Middle East country. I believe UTEF, oh my gosh, from the UAE probably has that distinction. So I'm guessing, is it the Supreme Court that's next or the Joint Chiefs? Find out in just a second. Like somehow that takes a while. I don't know. Get in and sit down in your seat, right? Anyway, so they'll if you're not following along, and I don't see copies on the desks, then that means that they don't have them, and that the president was probably editing real close to the end. But once this thing gets going, I'll check my email and see if we have it. We'll give it a sense of how long this thing's going to go. If I had to guess right now, I'm going to guess 40 minutes. He'll get his own side will get up and give him a ton of applause. We'll see what that does. I will be interested to see how long, if he goes longer than 40 minutes. I will. My personal guess is this, by the way. I think they need to get it at least 40 minutes long because they want to defy expectations that, we've talked about this in the show. Here we go.
Mr. Speaker, the Chief Justice and Associate Justices of the Supreme Court.
Okay, now there's a big question. How many of them showed up? You're going to have, obviously, the Chief Justice. She just announced it, John Roberts. But how many of the other 8 justices show up? We'll count the robes in a second. So I can see. Let's go. You got 1. Oh, here we go. There's Roberts in front. Kagan, is that Kagan? And Sotomayor, 2, 3, 4, I think that's Gorsuch. 5, Kavanaugh. They usually all don't attend. That's Gorsuch right there, Kavanaugh behind him. Oh, and Ketanji Brown. Oh, there she is. Okay. That's 6. Wow, there we go. Okay. The other big question tonight is, how does he get interrupted by the other side? I'll take a look. If you guys have some comments or thoughts, let me know. By the way, as we get ready, we got probably 2 or 3 minutes. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. And a little small plug, Roger Stone on the show tomorrow. You do want to talk about a guy who knows President Trump a long time, and he's been in every major political campaign. Roger Stone started in Nixon. He did Reagan, Bush, Kemp, Dole. The only one that he didn't do that I can tell is McCain, by the way. Great conversation. I'm so excited for that tomorrow. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. Hit that notification button, by the way. There's a lot that people think about Roger Stone, at least narrative wise. I'm just going to tell you a lot of it ain't true. Okay. I think my guess is I thought the Joint Chiefs, no, they might be seated already. But I do wonder about the Republican side. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert were both asked by reporters today, like, basically, are you going to behave? And they were like, no. So we'll see, because I think Biden's going to bait them. Biden needs a moment tonight, guys. I mean, he needs to do something aside from just blaming Republicans, which I think he's going to do. So I got this note here. It's from, I think it's Rada. She's saying, I'm sure he's been juiced up. Watch him run out of steam halfway through. Oh, you just watched Roger Stone on Alex Jones' show. Well, I tell you what, I bet you we ask better questions. Just telling you. No offense to Alex Jones, but I'm saying. Yeah, you didn't see, Freya saying, I don't see Amy. I didn't see her come in either. They usually don't have them all. In fact, I think getting 6 or 7 is a pretty big deal. So anyway, let's see. It's interesting why it's taken so long. This thing starts at 9. It's 9:01 right now. The reason I bring that up is the networks aren't usually happy to give up time. So cable stations are one thing. This is kind of their bread and butter. But the ABC, NBC, and CBS, that's, to them, this is when Law and Order and whatever is supposed to be on. This is big advertising dollars that they're giving up. So, now you got apparently dozens of protester stages sitting on Pennsylvania Avenue between the Capitol building and the White House, which, as much as Secret Service is going to do what they have to, they're not going to kill somebody, So there were rumors. What did this do? I'm sure they've got workarounds in plans, but this is clearly, look, this is the AP coming in
at the U.S. Capitol.
They're stalling.
And
This thing is supposed to go off at 9 o'clock. It's 9:01.
Speech. I'm Josh Boak with the AP.
So why I bring this up is,
tonight,
the network point for a second ago, the networks are ready to go, and they're giving up precious time. My guess is that they think, okay, if he talks for 40 minutes, which I think is probably about where he's going to go, they'll take a couple seconds, a beat, letting Biden get out of the House chamber, and then Katie Britt, the junior senator from Alabama, will have her turn. My guess is she goes 10 minutes, right? So if you're NBC or ABC, you think you can get in and out in an hour and then get your 10 o'clock programming on, get some ad revenue back in. This is going to be interesting. I know I'm getting some of the comments here on the YouTube page. He's probably having to be woken up or something. But look, you can see that reporting there. There's people who are keeping him from getting in the chamber. Look, Secret Service always has contingency plans and routes and whatever. And I can't believe that there wasn't advance to know this, right? I mean, this is what they do. I'm actually a little shocked because right now this is not a good narrative. If you're Biden, the idea that something's delayed, most people who are not watching this right now, watching us, are sitting there going, "What's going on?" And they're getting time. They're buying time on other stations. I'm at least giving you guys a breakdown of what's really happening. If you're just a random person that tuned in tonight because you can't watch network television, you want to see this thing go down, and you were told by all these network people it's supposed to start This isn't our ad, by the way. I'm not touting Joe Biden, just so we're clear. This is obviously the Biden campaign trying to buy some ad space here in one of these feeds. Because as you know, by the way, and this is what I think you're going to see tonight. They're going to try to make the case that things weren't as bad. Now, by the way, just assuming that that's actually right, I can't off the top of my head tell you what the unemployment rate was in January 21, but what was going on? COVID, right? Remember, people were at home, people lost their jobs. So these guys taking credit for a disease, that guy's like, dude, where is he? Who is that guy? That looks like Keith Morrison from NBC's Dateline.
All those upper areas are full of
but they're clearly buying time right now. And this is the problem, is that they've got to figure out what's going on. Look at that sea of white, those Democratic members trying to make a statement there. We're going to see. I mean, we're at 9:04 right now. This is getting embarrassing. I mean, they sent the receiving team out there. They're letting these guys mill about, and that's not a good sign. So we'll see what's happening. I'm getting some comments. Lindsey Graham sitting next to Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, 3 rhinos in a row. Graham's this chat room top choice. Yep. Graham still asleep. Okay. Yeah. Getting up a lot of interesting comments in the chat. Again, please make sure you're subscribing and sharing. I appreciate everybody who's been joining us for these live shows. It's been super helpful, and the growth has been phenomenal because of you and you guys sharing this stuff.
And where it could go.
This is normally a really quick process. Once they start the train on the track, and you saw them bringing in the diplomatic corps, the Supreme Court, then it's okay, ladies and gentlemen, the president of the United States. They excused those folks and brought them out. Look at everyone looking at their phones. I'm sure they're saying, look what he's stuck out there or whatever. This, as I said, we're getting it to 9:05 here. This is not a good, and I see all the comments that are coming in on YouTube. A lot of inappropriate speculation as to what he's doing. But this just does not help the narrative. Obviously, I do wonder. I mean, there's two things happening. One is there's a timeline that the speaker's following, right? Which is this thing goes at 9:00, and that's sort of the schedule of events. And then there's somebody queuing him off. That Biden's in the building, he's waiting. I mean, when I was there with Trump, he was queued up, ready to go. But you clearly. Something is going on. This is not normal to have that kind of a pause. And for all of the people who are wondering, I don't think Johnson cares. There's not, as you saw, there's no one there whispering in his ear. I think he looked down, he saw the time queue and said, okay, let's roll. And the beautiful thing is, this is his chamber. Kamala Harris is sitting next to him as the president of the Senate, in her capacity as the president of the Senate. She can't tell him what to do. This is his chamber, not hers. And so, I think he started the ball rolling and said, hey, the clock says 8:57. I'm supposed to do this in 3 minutes. But there's no one coming in. I mean, you can see this right now. There's no aides scuffling in saying, here's what's happening. They're looking at their phones. They're not getting any kind of direction about what to do. But I'm telling you right now, this just does not look good. Everyone's sitting down there going to talk now to the Supreme Court justices, but you've got to wonder. Pamela says, Sean, nothing's been normal for years. Good point. I will be interested to see. It was funny in the media today. They were all talking about the Republican outburst. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I remember Speaker Nancy Pelosi ripping up the State of the Union. And none of these folks in the media had a problem with that. Not one, right? No one made a point of how inappropriate it was, how much it lacked decorum. And yet and by the way, how many other things happened during the Trump years. And yet they're all upset because last year he egged them on entitlement cuts, which was not a true statement. Republicans were not cutting. And they reacted as one might who's being accused of a pretty serious thing to try to hurt seniors. So hold on one second. He left the White House a bit ago. Maybe there's a traffic jam. Yeah. But I will be interested to see what the Republican reaction is tonight, because I think he's going to come after them. He has to do something to fire up his base, to lay the predicate that, his agenda. I mean, I think he may throw an olive branch, but he's going to try to pretend that the border isn't a mess and that it's not his fault, that everything that happened. Look at Marjorie. She's got, by the way, Marjorie Taylor Greene. You see the white button right there. It says, say her name, Laken Riley. Laken Riley, the nursing student down in Georgia that was killed by that illegal immigrant. And the Republicans, she was handing these out earlier in the day to get Republicans to wear them, because it's interesting. He'll probably talk about the border, but he's not going to talk about Laken Riley. He'll talk about all these other issues, but he's not going to mention her name. And you saw the other night, I played it on the show, this clip of Jen Psaki and Joy Reid and one of the other, Rachel Maddow, all joking about how immigration isn't an issue in Virginia. And I'm thinking to myself, there's a Venezuelan who's in this country illegally that just raped a 14-year-old girl, and that's not a big deal. Like, what, oh, there we go. This is all about Gaza. And tonight, they're apparently going to make a big stink about trying to create a port. He's going to announce this tonight. The military is going to have a foothold going into Gaza to help get humanitarian aid in. The logistics of it don't actually seem to make sense. There's Mark Kelly, the senator from Arizona. And you can see the justices that he's sitting around. But this is not, they clearly aren't even trying to get them to sit down. You see just a second ago, okay, they're here because there's the first lady coming into the box. She's waving like, haha. Yeah, thanks for making us wait.
Next to the Prime Minister of Sweden, who's there.
Yeah, so
Sweden
that's,
and
you're pointing out in the
Finland
feed there.
both,
The Prime
are
Minister
in
of
the
Sweden
process
on
of
the right
joining
just
NATO.
joined
has
NATO.
expanded because of
And I'm sure
Russia's
that's
invasion
going to
of
be
Ukraine.
something that they make the point of about Ukraine. They're going to talk about how Sweden's is now a NATO member, and guess what? If Russia goes after Sweden, then we got to defend. I mean, it'd be interesting how he makes the nexus there about he's going to do something with NATO. We know that clearly. Okay, let's see. Here's this. Okay,
And we see members of his cabinet coming.
there we go. Yeah, we got the cabinet coming in right
Secretary
now.
of
You got
State
Tony
Antony
Blinken
out
making his
first.
way down
He's
the
followed by
aisle.
Treasury Secretary Janet
Yep,
Yellen.
Yellen right there with the white
Behind
hair, I
them is
guess.
Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin,
So
and then Attorney General Merrick Garland.
yeah, they're like, hey, finally, thanks for letting us in. And then they're getting pointed to their seats. Those are guys who are going to sit in the front row. They actually, it's interesting, at least in the past, they bring in chairs for them. So they, I don't know, probably like what would be equivalent of like a dining room chair. So you see that the members have these leather back chairs that they sit in. There's no assigned seating in the House, although they do sit on the various side by party, not required, but they do. And they actually vote by a little credit card that there's little readers spread throughout the chamber. But when they do this, because it's the House, the Senate, the diplomatic corps, the Supreme Court, the Joint Chiefs, and the cabinet, they bring in extra chairs and put them in the front rows. So those guys get to sit in these, like, I would think for an hour-long speech. I mean, granted, it's not that long, but it's going to be probably pretty boring. And you're sitting in more of like a dining room chair or a desk chair. Desk chair is probably a better accurate read on that. If that was Trump being late, the mainstream media would be yelling already. Absolutely. There's no question about it. Yeah, it will be an interesting, one of the comments here is, what does Marjorie say? There she is right there. You can see her in the red coat with the sticker. Pete Buttigieg making his way down the aisle. Like, let's see what she does here. Okay, nothing. She's got the white t-shirt with the red jacket on. There goes Buttigieg.
Win the Iowa caucuses.
Then Jennifer Granholm, as I mentioned, right there with the glasses and the red coat. Born in Canada, so she couldn't have been the designated survivor. They could have asked her to stay home just because they wanted to. But she can't be the designated survivor because she's ineligible to be president of the United States and therefore is not in the line of succession. I feel like, guys, we're late. We're running 13 minutes late. Take your seats, will you? There's Alejandro Mayorkas. Hey, thank you for not impeaching me here. He's just, look at where he is. He's going down in his head, and actually Granholm, they are just looking, Dennis McDonough right there, the VA secretary, all looking just at the Democratic side. They are not even engaging with the Republicans. I get it. I mean, if I was Alejandro Mayorkas, there's not too many Republican hands that probably want to shake your hand. nor do you want to see them. But that's, it used to be more of like the people who took the aisle seats were people who wanted to shake the hands. They wanted to get on TV. So I agree, by the way. A bunch of people are saying in the feed that if this is Trump, people would go nuts. They'd be calling for his resignation. They'd be saying stuff. I don't disagree, guys. This is crazy to me that he is literally starting this thing 15 minutes late. And I guarantee you the mainstream media is like, it was because of such and such. Like, no, this doesn't look good. And it just means I got to stay up later, which I'll do for you. But I mean, actually, I would actually be worried if I were them. Another 15 minutes that he has to stay up. I'm not kidding. We all know this. The later it gets, it's harder. So we'll see how he does. Seriously, enough with the hugging and all this. I thought that these guys were repulsed by that kind of stuff anyway. What do they call it? Like unconsensual touching or something. I mean, they all freaked out about that. They tried to cancel that poster from the VA, that iconic World War II picture of the sailor grabbing the medical assistant. And then Dennis McDonough, we just saw come into the chamber after an official memo went out, suddenly said, that it wasn't an issue. Okay, I'm getting word. Miguel Cardona is the designated survivor. So there you go. He is the Secretary of Education. So God forbid something happens. We're going to get stuck with Miguel Cardona. But like I said, I think there's no one who would wish any ill will on this tonight, because it's a big deal. It's interesting, by the way. I don't know if you saw this. It was on social media. They put up a massive fence in the last 24 hours. A lot of chatter on this, right? So you guys can put up a fence in 12 hours to guard yourself, but you won't guard our southern border. In fact, you'll sue Texas. That doesn't get played, right? That we don't talk about that, even though it's true and it's pretty unbelievable. There you have Merrick Garland off to the left. Oh, look at that. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin showed up today. That's nice of him. Doesn't look like anyone wants to be talking to Merrick Garland. How come? Look at, he's like, can someone just say hi to me, please? So you see them all sitting down there. If they could take their space, the thing that's going to infuriate me is that we're already 16 minutes late now, and he's going to try to shake every hand and try to show that he's vibrant or whatever he wants to do. But I mean, it's all a show right now. You can see the photographer at the end of the, right there, straight on, right underneath the rostrum there, where Kamala Harris and Speaker Mike Johnson are, and they're kind of getting ready to take that shot as he comes down the aisle. That's kind of how I would say my cue is. Like, you can see the woman right there. She's starting to make her way up. Let's see. No, I thought she's turning around now, getting other shots. I was actually hopeful that was actually going to happen. I mean, who chooses the designated survivor? I mean, technically the president, but I'm sure it's the chief of staff. And as I said, there's two things that go into play here, right? Oh, let's see. I guess. Okay, this is probably it. Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
Getting a lot of applause from Democrats in the chamber. Speaker Johnson is also standing up there and applauding for the president as he very slowly makes his way down the aisle as he greets members.
Now, this is where, again, members are trying to get like FaceTime that they've never gotten. And they're trying to say whatever they've never said to him because they haven't had a meeting, and they keep him locked away from people. Look at Chuck Schumer. Man, that guy, you cannot get between him and a camera, can you? And he is just hugging Joe Biden. I don't know who the member is because I can't see the back of their head, but that's somebody is, you know who that is? That is Burchett from Tennessee. God, that's how good I am. I can get someone's back of the head and I know who they are. That is Tim Burchett from Tennessee. He looked like he was giving him a mouthful there. But, this is going to take another 5 minutes to get down the aisle. If you haven't already, while we're waiting for this, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. The only way that we can do this is is because of people like you helping to subscribe and spread the word. So if you haven't, please, please, please subscribe to this channel. And when you get a chance, do the same at Apple Podcasts. Even if you never, ever listen to it on Apple, on the audio version at Apple or Spotify, it helps build our numbers. And that's what's important, because our sponsors are great sponsors that let us do the show every day, are what helps pay for the amazing team that puts the show on. As you know, it's all free. So if you can do that, that's the one thing I would ask. Please hit the subscribe and notification button here on YouTube, on Rumble, and then go to Apple, and please do that the same. Just see the show, the Sean Spicer Show, and hit subscribe. And again, you don't need to listen to it every day, but it just helps build our numbers and show the strength that we have. Thank you, Dr. David. Appreciate that. And obviously, Barbara, I know you've been a huge subscriber and a huge fan and supporter. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, this is taking a while, but like, I mean, what is Schumer? Just get out of the way. I mean, oh my gosh, dude, you're 20 minutes late now. Just let him go. Get the speech. You can do it on the way out. But this is like everyone that's never gotten a meeting is trying to get in there. Oh, Barbara, thank you. Barbara's saying, you know, I'm on Apple and Rumble as well. That's super. You're a super subscriber, and that's a greatly appreciated. Oh, Schumer took off his glasses. Something must have happened. Do you think there's too many cameras around? But you continue to see these guys trying to. Oh, look at. By the way, as I said, look at Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's got the phone out, the MAGA hat on. She's probably, look, with that Laken Riley, if I had to bet right now, she's saying, say her name, say her name. That's what the pin says. I'm going to tell you right now, you can see it. It says it on her T-shirt as well. She's got that phone out. She's recording it. I bet you after the State of the Union, you go to Marjorie Taylor Greene's Instagram, and you will see whatever that video was, that footage. But we'll see, because if I had to bet, and unfortunately we don't do betting on this, that she got him. She said, say her name, Laken Riley, da, da, da. And the House, by the way, just passed that bill today. They passed that bill, and then the Energy and Commerce Committee, 50-0, completely bipartisan, did that bill to make sure that ByteDance, the Chinese company that technically owns TikTok, divests of it if they want to operate in the U.S. And I'll tell you the funny thing about this. We talked to Kat Kamek about what was going on today. They put so much pressure on members. They had kids, everybody calling. They were force feeding them talking points to call the members of Congress. And I kept thinking, this is exactly the point. The word that I got from a lot of folks was it was backlash, that so many members said, wow, this is the influence that these guys have. They really are a tool of the Chinese communist government. So we need to, like, this just shows you what a threat and danger they are. Joe Manchin there off to President Biden's left-hand side. You know, who knows what he's saying? Hey, congratulations, I didn't run against you. I don't know. Or I'm not running against no labels or whatever. I mean, I don't know. It's funny. They love that guy for a second. And the second that he said he wasn't going to run against Joe Biden, I don't think they cared anymore. Seriously, we are now at 9:21. We should have been halfway through this speech by now. It's funny. I mean, I'm getting a lot of comments. He looks older. I don't know. But we'll see how long he goes. I think he's forgetting right now, dude. You gotta give a speech. You know that, right? You can't just keep walking and kissing people. He's not even, look, seriously, he's faking it. Just get up there. I mean, my goodness. They're going to tire the guy out. I mean, I don't, it's going to be fascinating to see how this plays out, because, look, oh my gosh. Let's do a selfie. Ha ha ha. He isn't even talking. I wonder if Schumer's actually, someone just said to him, can you walk with him? Because there is a concern. Like, I wonder what's going on. So, all right, he's down. You can see the Supreme Court justices right here at that edge. Those are the camera folks. So this should be it. Once he clears that, it's a beeline to the rostrum. And then it's going to be another, like Johnson says, he'll say the whole line again. You know, the speaker, you know, the president of the United States, he'll bang the gavel. Biden will turn around, probably shake their hands, hand him a copy of the speech, which is traditional, and then he goes. And then we can get this night going. I mean, seriously. You know what? The one thing, by the way, that's an interesting fact. I sat in the gallery. When I was a House staffer, as a leadership staffer, I could be on the floor. When I was a rank and file staffer, I sat in the gallery a couple times, not just for the State of the Union, but for other things. When you get up there, they take your device, and then there's no getting up and going over. So, you've got to be in your seat for a while, and you don't have your devices. Oh, look at Pelosi. For goodness sakes, dude, you're not speaker anymore. And by the way, that fake title that they gave her, Speaker Emerita, that's not a real title. They literally, a group of them got together and said, we're going to call you Speaker Emerita. That's the Speaker of the House is an officer of the House laid out in the Constitution. You can't just throw that around and give yourself fake titles. These guys, it's amazing. So whatever, it's just fascinating to see how this is going to happen. But for goodness sake, we are now at 9:25. Get up there. Like, I get why he doesn't want to start this thing. I wouldn't either if I were him. I don't want to sit there and worry about saying names and rambling on. But the quicker you start, sir, the quicker you can finish. I mean, I feel like it's like a high school test. As soon as we get going, it'll get over soon enough. But he's standing there having these conversations like he's got nothing on his schedule every day. Invite some of these people down and have a chat. I don't care. But this is our time. You remember that line in, for those of you who are old enough, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, when Sean Penn walks in and he's trying to have a pizza and they say, Mr. Hand says, Mr. Spicoli, this is my classroom. And then he brings the pizza and he says, well, if I'm here and you're here, it's our time. So I feel like since I'm here, there we go. He hands him the speech. The speaker will bang the gavel down. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, boom, and then let's roll. Oh, my God. I'm going to pretend I know a bunch of you, and I'll salute you.
Tony.
Oh, there. What did I say? Tony. Like, you can't go wrong. You just yell Tony. Oh, gosh. All right. I'm going to take a look while we start going if I've gotten the speeches come out yet. So just bear with me as we get started. If I fall asleep, put something in the notes or something. Send me a super chat because this is so far nothing.
Good evening.
Yeah, we heard you.
If I were smart, I go home now.
Yes, true statement. But you've only. Yeah, he's going to get an applause for that. Look at all the Republicans standing up. You're right. So go.
Madam Vice President, members of Congress, my fellow Americans. In January 1941, Franklin
I first
Roosevelt
got
came
elected.
to this chamber to speak to the nation. And he said, I address you at a moment unprecedented in the history of the Union. Hitler was on the march. War was raging in Europe. President Roosevelt's purpose was to wake up Congress and alert the American people that this was no ordinary time. Freedom and democracy were under assault in the world. Tonight, I come to this same chamber to address the nation. Now, it's we who face an unprecedented moment in the history of the Union. And yes, my purpose tonight is to wake up the Congress and alert the American people that this is no ordinary moment either.
Yeah, you did it.
Not since President Lincoln and the Civil War have freedom and democracy been under assault at home as they are today. What makes our moment rare is that freedom and democracy are under attack both at home and overseas at the very same time.
This is such a throwaway line.
Overseas,
Freedom and democracy under
Putin
attack.
Russia is on the march, invading Ukraine and sowing chaos throughout Europe and beyond. If anybody in this room thinks Putin will stop at Ukraine, I assure you he will not.
Yeah, just remember all of the people who have said everything that Joe Biden's done in foreign policy has been an absolute disaster.
But Ukraine-
Obama, Gates. I'm not saying don't
Ukraine can stop Putin.
estimate Putin, but are you kidding me? The only reason they went into
Ukraine can stop
Ukraine,
Putin.
was
if we
because
stand with
of his
Ukraine
failed Afghanistan withdrawal.
provide
They didn't
the
do it for
weapons
4 years of Trump, and now he's lecturing us.
that needs to defend itself. That is all. That is all Ukraine is asking. They're not asking for American soldiers. In
Where's the
fact,
plan,
there are no
bro?
American soldiers in the war in Ukraine.
This
and
is, by
I'm
the way, where he's going to
determined
fit in the
to keep it
Swedish
that way.
ambassador. Trust me on this.
But now, assistance to Ukraine is being blocked by those who want to walk away from our world leadership. Wasn't long
Not true.
ago when a Republican president named Ronald Reagan thundered, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall."
Pretty bold to compare yourself to
Now.
Reagan. They took Reagan seriously.
Now my predecessor, a former Republican president, tells Putin, quote, "Do whatever the hell you want." That's a
So let's
quote.
just be clear. This is how he's starting the speech.
former president
Not
actually
about
said
us,
that.
not about our country, not
Bowing
about
down to a Russian
what's going
leader.
on, the
I
threats
think
that
it's
we face, the
outrageous,
economy,
it's
how our
dangerous, and
cities
it's
and states, crime,
unacceptable.
immigration. Comes out, makes it a campaign speech.
America is a founding member of NATO, the military alliance of democratic nations created after World War II to prevent war and keep the peace. And today, we've made NATO stronger than ever. We welcomed Finland to the alliance last year.
Whoa, Finland! Oh
just
my
this
God, we're
morning,
stronger because Finland.
Sweden officially joined, and their
Sweden,
minister is here
the
tonight.
neutral country, is now
Now
officially
stand
there.
up.
And we've got the prime minister. Oh, wow.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Oh, man. That's a big selling point. Sweden.
And they know how to fight.
What?
Mr. Prime Minister, welcome to NATO, the strongest military alliance the world has ever seen.
You're going to use the Swedish
say this to
military as your
Congress.
highlight?
We have to stand up to Putin. Send me a bipartisan national security bill. History is literally watching. History is watching. If the United States walks
Oh, he's
away,
gonna whisper into the mic.
it will put Ukraine at risk. Europe is at risk. The free world will be at risk, emboldening others to do what they wish to do us harm. My message to President Putin, who I've known for a long time, is simple. We will not walk away.
Oh, gosh.
We will not bow down.
Oh, my goodness.
I will not bow down.
He acts like this is a choice, like somehow where
History is
anyone's bowing
watching.
down. They want a plan.
History is
They
watching.
want our border secure first.
Just like
This is a
history
fake
watched 3
choice,
years ago
guys.
On January 6th.
Oh, yeah. Get into January 6th,
this
buddy.
very Capitol and placed a dagger to the throat of American democracy. Many of you are here on that darkest of days.
Why is he yelling?
We all saw with our own eyes the insurrectionists were not patriots. They'd come to stop the peaceful transfer of power, to overturn the will of the people. January 6th lies about the 2020 election and the plots that steal the election.
Dark Brandon is angry.
posed a great, gravest threat to U.S. democracy since the Civil War. But they failed. America stood. America stood strong and democracy prevailed. We must be honest. The threat to democracy must be defended.
What threat?
My
You've not
predecessor
you've
and
not
some of you
explained what
here
the
seek to
threat to
bury the truth
democracy
about
is.
January
What's
6th.
the threat? Everybody can
I will
vote.
not do
Everyone can
that.
register to vote. I mean,
This is
what
the
what
moment to
exactly does
speak
that
the
mean? It's a
truth and to bury
buzzword.
the lies. Here's the simple truth.
You're the one that canceled
You
the primary in
can't love your
Florida.
country
You're the one
only
that's
when
pushing
you
people
win.
off ballots. That's democracy.
As I've
you-
done ever since being elected to office, I ask all of you without regard to party to join together and defend
Oh yeah,
democracy.
you come in, insult
Remember
everyone,
your
then you
oath
talk
of
about
office is
joining everyone
defending us
together.
all threats, foreign and domestic. Respect free and fair elections. Restore trust in our institutions. And make clear political violence has absolutely no place in America.
Except if
Zero
you're burning a
place.
building or a small business, a monument, a courthouse, then it's different.
Again,
So as I said, just look at that front row. I know you think it's the Republican side. That's his cabinet that's getting up.
we're watching. Your children and grandchildren will read about this day and what we do. History is watching another assault on freedom. Joining us tonight is Latoya Beasley, a social worker from Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh,
14
IVF.
months ago.
Yeah.
14 months ago. She
By
and
the
her
way,
husband
the
welcomed a baby
state
girl
capitol,
thanks to
the
the
state
miracle of
legislature's already
IVF.
overridden this, but let's not mention that, will we?
Second child. But the Alabama Supreme Court shut down IVF treatments across the state.
Nope,
Unleashed
not
by
true.
a Supreme Court decision overturning Roe v. Wade. She was told her dream would have to wait. What her family had got through should never have happened. Unless Congress acts, it could happen again. So tonight,
Just remember, and I wrote
let's
this in my
stand
first
up for
book,
families
he
like
said
hers. To my
Roe
friends
was
across the aisle,
falsely
don't
decided
vote
when he was in the Senate. This is amazing. Again, we're not going to fact check him, will we?
Guarantee it nationwide. Like most Americans, I believe Roe v. Wade got it right.
A what?
I thank Vice
No,
President
that's not what you
Harris
said.
for being an
He
incredible
actually,
leader
as a
defending
senator,
reproductive
did
freedom.
not say that. He said it was falsely
So much
decided.
more. Thank you. My predecessor came to office determined to see Roe v. Wade overturned. He's the reason it was overturned, and he brags about it. Look at the chaos that has resulted. Joining us tonight is Kate Cox, the wife and mother from Dallas. She's become pregnant again and had a fetus of a fatal condition. Her doctor told Kate that her own life and her ability to have children of children
So
in
far,
the
this is
future
great. This sounds
were
like
at
this
risk
convention. I mean,
if she
like
didn't
angry
act.
convention speech more than anything else.
Because Texas law banned her ability to act, Kate and her husband had to leave the state to get what she needed. What her family got through should have never happened as well, but it's happening in too many others. There are state laws banning the freedom to choose, criminalizing doctors, forcing survivors of rape and incest to leave their states to get the treatment they need. Many of you in this chamber and my predecessor are promising to pass a national ban on reproductive freedom. My God, what freedom else would you take away?
Oh, there's Maria
Look,
Shriver.
It's a decision to overturn.
What
Roe v.
other
Wade.
freedoms
The
would you
Supreme
take
Court majority
away?
wrote the following.
Maybe standing up for life
And with all
would
due
be
respect,
something that you
Justice,
used to believe in and talk
Women
about,
are
huh?
not without electoral power. Electoral or political power.
Oh,
You're about
gaff
to
one.
realize just how much you're right about that.
Yeah, maybe if you slow down a bit.
Clearly. Clearly. Those bragging about overturning Roe v. Wade have no clue about the power of women, but they found out.
Oh my
When
God.
reproductive freedom was on the ballot. We won in 2022 and 2020, and we'll win again in 2024. If you, the American people, send me a Congress that supports the right to choose, I promise you, I'll restore Roe v. Wade as the law of the land again.
No, you won't. It was already decided. Folks, when I was a kid, my dad used to say, Joey.
I'm here tonight to show what I believe is the way forward, because I know how far we come. 4 years ago next week, before I came to office, the country was hit by the worst pandemic and the worst economic crisis in a century.
I stayed in my
Remember the
basement.
fear, record losses. Remember the spikes in crime and the murder rate, raging virus. It took more than 1 million
I thought those were
American
Black Lives
lives
Matter protests, but
of
maybe I'm
loved
wrong.
ones, millions left behind. A mental health crisis of isolation and loneliness. A president, my predecessor, failed the most basic presidential duty that he owes to American people, the duty to care. I think that's unforgivable. I came to office determined to get us through one of the toughest periods in the nation's history. We have. It doesn't make news in 1,000 cities and towns. The American people are writing the greatest comeback story never told.
Oh my God. In 1,000 stories, you guys have defunded the police and gone soft on crime, and they're now paying the consequences for that. I mean, like, there's
So
such an
let's tell the
alternative
story
reality
here.
happening.
Tell it here and now. America's comeback is building the future of American possibilities, building an economy from the middle out and the bottom up, not the top down, investing in all America, in all Americans, to make sure everyone has a fair shot. We leave no one behind. The pandemic no longer controls our lives. The vaccines that saved us from COVID are now being used to beat cancer, turning
What?
setback into comeback. That's what America does. That's what America does.
I don't even know what he's talking about there.
Folks, my inherited economy is on the brink. Now our economy is literally the envy of the world. 15 million new jobs in just 3 years, a record, a record.
Man, he's angry.
Unemployment at 50-year lows. A record 16 million Americans are starting small businesses, and each one is a literal act of hope. With historic job growth and small business growth for Black and Hispanics and Asian Americans, 800,000 new manufacturing jobs in America and counting.
Pamela, I know.
Where is it written
The
we
jobs
can't be the manufacturing capital of the world? We are, we will. More people have
This
health
sounds like a
insurance
Saturday
today.
Night Live skit,
More people have health insurance today than ever before.
except they would never do this.
The racial wealth gap is as small as it's been in 20 years. Wages keep going up. Inflation keeps coming down.
You put
Inflation's
inflation
dropped
high.
from 9% to 3%, the lowest.
'Cause
of the
you got
world,
it there.
and tending lower.
Oh my God.
The landing is and will be soft. And now,
Oh
instead
my
of importing
All right,
foreign
Rick,
products
I'll
and
breathe.
exporting American jobs, we're exporting American products and creating American jobs. Right here in America, where they belong.
He's got to stop yelling, man.
And it takes time, but the American people are beginning to feel it. Consumer studies show consumer confidence is soaring. Buy America has been the law of the land since the 1930s. Past administrations, including my predecessor, including some Democrats as well in the past, failed to buy American. Not anymore. On my watch, federal projects that you fund, like helping build American roads, bridges, and highways, will be made with American products and built by American workers. Creating good-paying American jobs.
Oh, that's cute. They made Pete sit in the second row. They're like little kids in the back, please.
And thanks to our CHIPS and Science Act, the United States is investing more in research and development than ever before. During the pandemic, a shortage of
The
semiconductors,
copy's come out
chips,
yet.
that drove up the price of everything from cell phones to automobiles. And by the way, we invented those chips right here in America. Well, instead of having to import them, private companies are now investing billions of dollars to build new chip factories here in America, creating tens of thousands of jobs. Many of those jobs paying $100,000 a year and
Team
don't
Trump, by the
require a
way, is putting
college
out tons
degree.
of statements from the super PAC as well as the president that are getting out to people fact checking in real time, which is interesting
In fact,
because we're now in a general election
My
phase. He can
policies
do that.
have attracted $650 billion in private sector investment in clean energy, advanced manufacturing, creating tens of thousands of jobs here in America. And thanks to our bipartisan infrastructure law, 46,000 new projects have been announced all across your communities.
You know, if there's a good thing,
By the way, I
it's just that
noticed some
he's
of you
continuing to
strongly
go.
voted against it, or
You
they're
know, he's not
cheering on
stopping during
everyone
the
coming in.
applause, which I find helpful.
I like it. I'm with you. I'm with you. If any of you don't want that money in your district, just let me know. Modernize our roads and bridges, ports and airports, public transit systems. Removing poisonous lead pipes so every child can drink clean water without risk of brain damage.
This is like every talking point that strewn into one speech, just talking point, line after line after line. Like, I don't.
For every American, no matter where you live, urban, suburban, or rural communities, in red states and blue states. Record
Big,
investments
small,
in tribal
large,
communities.
medium.
Because of my investment in
It's
the
just a
family
bunch of
farm,
words.
Because I invested in family farms led by my Secretary of Agriculture, who knows
What?
more about this than anybody I know. We're better able to stay in the family for those farms and their children and grandchildren won't have to leave home to make a living. It's transformative. The great comeback story
No
is
joke,
Belvidere,
folks.
Illinois, home to an auto plant for nearly 60 years. Before I came to office, the plant was on its way to shutting down. Thousands of workers feared for their livelihoods. Hope was fading. Then I was elected to office and we raised the Belvedere repeatedly with auto companies knowing unions would make all the difference. The UAW worked like hell to keep the
Oh,
plant
and guess what? The
open.
president of the UAW happens
These
to be here
jobs
tonight
back, and together we succeeded.
after he endorsed me.
Instead of auto factories shutting down, auto factories reopening, and new state-of-the-art battery factories being built to power those cars there at the same. The folks of Belvedere, I say, instead of your town being left behind, your community is moving forward again. Because instead of watching auto jobs in the future go overseas, 4,000 union jobs with higher wages are building the future in Belvedere right here in America.
Yeah, I keep seeing you guys. I mean, this whole, yeah, he's right. Not only that, he's yelling a lot. The unions are not happy with him because of the electric car stuff.
President Shawn Fain, a great friend and a great labor leader. Shawn, where are you?
Right there. Guess what? Yeah, hey. And guess what? Yep, he endorsed me, so he gets a free ticket.
And Dawn Sims, a third-generation worker, UAW worker at Belvedere. Shawn, I was proud to be the first president to stand on the picket line, and today, Dawn has a good job in her hometown, providing stability for her family and pride and dignity as well. Showing once again, Wall Street didn't build America. They're not bad guys. They didn't build it, though. The middle class built the country, and unions built the middle class.
Oh. Pander, 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 pander.
I say to the American people, when America gets knocked down, we get back up.
Think about this. They literally wrote down a series of phrases.
That's
When the
America.
going gets tough, the tough get going.
That's you, the American people.
Oh my gosh.
It's because of you America's coming back. It's because of you our future is bright. It's because of you that tonight
democracy is under
we can
attack.
proudly say the state of our union is strong and getting stronger.
Wait, so at the beginning, it's all a disaster. Democracy under attack, but now it's strong and getting stronger. Which is it? The problem is when you string all these lines together and don't actually think about it, then that's what happens like this. It doesn't make sense. But that's generally speaking what a bunch of leftists are all about. It doesn't have to make sense.
Tonight, I want to talk about the future of possibilities.
No, I thought you were done.
That we can build together. A future
Oh, together.
where the
Now we're
days of
friends.
trickle-down economics are over, and the wealthy and the biggest corporations no longer get all the tax breaks. And by the way, I understand corporations. I come from a state that has more corporations invested than every one of your states in the United States combined. And I represented it for 36
Hunter had a job
years.
there,
I'm
right?
not
At
anti-corporation,
MBNA, the big bank.
But I grew up in a home where trickle-down economics didn't put much on my dad's kitchen table. That's why I determined to turn things around so middle class does well. When they do well, the poor go way up and the wealthy still do very well.
They trickle down real well.
all
If
do
you
well.
if you're a Biden
There's
family
more to
member,
do to
right? You
make
seem to
sure you're
trickle in
feeling the
real well.
benefits
Jim
of
Biden,
all
Frank
we're
Biden,
doing.
Hunter Biden, they all seem to do well,
Americans pay
trickling
more
down.
for prescription drugs than anywhere in the world. It's wrong, and I'm ending it.
Oh, well, there you go. He's just ending it. Tell us how.
With the law that I proposed and signed, not one of you Republican buddies voted for it. We finally beat Big Pharma. Instead of paying $400 a month or thereabouts for insulin with diabetes, and it only costs $10 to make, they only get paid $35 a month now and still make a healthy profit. And I want to, but what to do next? I want to cap the cost of insulin $35 a month for every American who needs it. Everyone.
Yeah, where's the border, Lisa? I get it.
For years, people have talked about it, but finally we got it done and gave Medicare the power to negotiate lower prices on prescription drugs, just like the VA is able to do for veterans. That's not just saving seniors money, it's saving taxpayers money. We cut the federal deficit by $160 billion.
Oh, he's mad. Oh, look at how many pieces of paper he still has in that folder. Come on.
Will no longer have to pay those exorbitant prices to Big Pharma. This year, Medicare is negotiating lower prices for some of the costliest drugs on the market to treat everything from heart disease to arthritis. It's now time to go further and give Medicare the power to negotiate lower prices for 500 different drugs over the next decade. We're making a lot of money, guys. And they'll still be extremely profitable. Will not only save lives, it will save taxpayers another $200 billion. Starting next year, the same law caps total prescription drug costs for seniors on Medicare at $2,000 a year, even for expensive cancer drugs that cost $10,000, $12,000, $15,000. I want to cap prescription drug costs.
All right, Corey's asking if the speaker should rip up the speech. You know, the funny thing is, I think Speaker Johnson has too much class to do something like that. Corey, so I got you. I just don't think that Speaker Johnson. Corey asks, he super chatted, wants to know if the speaker should rip up the speech. And look, I get it. I mean, Pelosi, just because she did it, I don't think, like, as I said, I think he's too classy of a guy to do it. So.
40% the cost you're paying now. Same company, same drug, same place. Folks.
Oh, whisper.
The Affordable Care Act, the old Obamacare.
What?
It's still a very big deal.
Oh, get it? He's trying to remember. I said it was a BFD, and you have to remember that. Oh, they're all chatting. That's so funny. They're all explaining it to the other members of Congress. Oh, that was why.
Million of you can no longer be denied health insurance because of pre-existing condition. Well, my predecessor.
Oh my! Here we go. My predecessor.
Take this prescription drug away by repealing Affordable Care Act. I'm not going to let that happen.
He's not going to let that happen.
We stopped you 50 times before, and we'll stop you again.
Oh yeah.
In fact, I'm not only protecting it, I'm expanding it. We enacted tax credits of $800 per person per year, reduce health care costs for millions of working families. That tax credit expires next year. I want to make that savings permanent.
Oh. I know. How many times is he going to? I wish I'd put that on my bingo cards. How many times will he say predecessor?
Women are more than half our population.
Oh, God.
But research on women's health has always been underfunded. That's why we're launching the first ever White House initiative on women's health research, led by Jill.
Oh, they didn't even give that one to Kamala. Wow. Yeah, Kamala's plate's too full.
Plan for $12 billion to transfer women's health research and benefit millions of lives all across America. I know the cost of housing is so important to you.
even though I have a
Inflation
free one.
keeps coming down, mortgage rates will come down as well.
Oh, come on.
And the Fed
You
acknowledges that.
created it, and now you want to take
But I'm
credit
not
for it coming
waiting.
down?
I want to provide an annual tax credit that will give Americans $400 a month for the next 2 years as mortgage rates come down to put toward their mortgages when they buy their first home or trade up for a little more space.
Oh, my.
Just
Yeah,
for 2
I've
years.
already gotten rid of your student loan and transferred that debt to somebody else.
And my administration is also eliminating title insurance on federally backed mortgages. When you
Oh, yeah. Hey, why
refinance
not?
your home, you can save $1,000 or more as a consequence.
What?
For millions of renters, we're cracking down on big landlords who use antitrust law, who break antitrust laws
What?
by price fixing and driving up rents. We've cut red tape.
How are you gonna
builders
do
can
that?
Get federally financing, which is already helping build a record 1.7 million new housing units nationwide.
Thanks, Lisa, by the
Now
way.
pass and build and renovate.
It's worrying me that he hasn't turned a page. I mean, I get it. Maybe at some point it's frozen and he's not, but he's using the teleprompter, but I'm getting worried. Like, start turning those pages, bro. Oh, wait. Oh, there he goes.
To remain the strongest economy in the world.
Okay,
We
it looks
need to
like
have
we're
the best education
probably
system in the world.
60% done.
And I suspect all of you, want to give every child, a good start by providing access to preschool for 3 and 4 years old. You know, I think I pointed out last year, that children coming from broken homes where there's no books, they're not read to, not spoken to very often, start school, kindergarten, or first grade, having heard 1 million fewer words spoken. Well, studies
Well,
show
you guys do everything you can to break up
children who
the
go to
families,
preschool are
so
nearly 50% more likely to finish high school, go on to earn a 2- and 4-year degree, no matter what their background is.
he's mad.
I met a year and a half ago with the leaders of the Business Roundtable. They were mad that they were angry. I think, well, they were discussing why I wanted to spend money on education. I pointed out to them as vice president, I met with over 182 of those folks. Don't hold me to the exact number.
No, hey, it's just a State of the Union.
And I asked them what they need most, the CEOs. And you've had the same experience on both sides of the aisle. They say a better educated workforce, right? So I looked at them and I say, I come from Delaware. DuPont used to be the 8th largest corporation in the world. And every new enterprise they bought, they educated the workforce to that enterprise. But none of you do that anymore. Why are you angry with me providing you the opportunity for the best educated workforce in the world? And they all looked at me and said, I think you're right.
Yeah, they've never thought of
I
it.
wanna
They just run a
expand
massive
high-quality
company that
tutoring
makes millions of dollars, and
in
they've never
summer
thought of
learning
it.
to see that every
Just so
child
great that
learns
you
to
were
read
able to
by
share that
3rd
with them.
grade.
I mean, I know that he's never run a business and always been in government since he was in his 20s, and his family just grifts off of it. But, he's got a real understanding of business.
Students get hands-on experience and a path to a good paying job, whether or not they go to college. And I want to make sure the college is more affordable.
Yeah,
Let's
so that
continue
you loaded up
increasing
with
the
DEI,
programs to
right? That's how
working
you're
and
going to do it?
middle-class families and increase record investments in HBCUs and minority-serving institutions, including Hispanic institutions.
Just remember, it was President Trump that permanently funded HBCUs. So that's done, and
When I
it's
was
because of
told
him.
I couldn't
We'll talk about your
universally just
predecessor.
change the way in which we dealt with student loans. I fixed 2 student loan programs that already existed to reduce the burden of student debt for nearly 4 million Americans, including nurses, firefighters, and others in public service. Like Keenan Jones, a public educator from Minnesota, who's here with us tonight. Keenan, where are you?
This is
Keenan,
pretty
thank
lame, the
you.
way he's used the guest
He's
in his
educated
speech.
hundreds of students so
It's
they
almost
can
like a
go
throwaway
to
line.
college Now he's able to help, after debt forgiveness, get his own daughter to college.
Well, why wouldn't you bring her then, too?
And folks, look, such relief is good for the economy because folks are now able to buy a home, start a business, start a family.
Except for
While
the
we're
interest rates
at
are
it,
really high that
I
you've
want to give
created.
public school teachers a raise.
Oh, isn't that a local thing? Thought that the local communities does that, but I guess we're not going to make that a federal thing. Just remember the interest rates are high because of him. The reason that home ownership has gotten out of control for so many people, out of reach for so many people, is because of his policies.
We cut the deficit.
No, you didn't.
Now, let me
That's a
speak to the
lie.
question of fundamental fairness for all Americans. I've been delivering real results in fiscally responsible ways.
No,
We've already
no,
cut the federal deficit. We've already cut the federal deficit.
no,
over
no,
$1
you
trillion.
haven't. No, you just stopped spending COVID money.
I signed the bipartisan deal to cut another $1 trillion in the next decade. It's my goal to cut the federal deficit another $3 trillion by making big corporations and very wealthy finally beginning to pay their fair share.
Oh, yeah. That's right. They're not paying their fair share. Maybe it's government spending. You forgot about that part.
Look,
Unbelievable.
I'm a capitalist.
No,
The
yeah.
maker can make a million or millions of bucks. That's great. Just pay your fair share in taxes.
Unbelievable. There's a guy who's
fair
never run a
tax
business.
code is how
Never
we
run a
invest things to
business,
make this
and
country
his entire
great.
family grifts off
Healthcare,
of his
education,
service. Yeah,
defense, and
I
so much
talk
more.
about paying your fair share.
Here's the
Wasn't it
deal.
his son that didn't pay?
$2 trillion tax cut overwhelmingly benefit the top 1%, the very wealthy, the biggest corporation, and exploded the federal deficit. They added more to the national debt than any presidential term in American history. Check the numbers.
Jack,
Folks at home, does anybody really think the tax code is fair?
you know you can't talk back. We can't.
Do
You
really
can't
think
hear
the
us.
wealthy and big corporations need another $2 trillion tax break?
I guess we
I
should
sure
pay our fair
don't.
share unless our name is Hunter,
I'm going
right?
to keep fighting like hell to make it fair. Under my plan, nobody earning less than $400,000 a year will pay additional penny in federal taxes. Nobody, not one penny.
No way, not one.
And
Except
they haven't yet.
the other penny, the big penny. You'll pay dollars, not pennies.
In fact, the child tax credit I passed during the pandemic cut taxes for millions of working families and cut child poverty in half. Restore that child tax credit. No child should go hungry in
I don't
this
think
country.
Speaker Johnson has gotten up once, has he? This might be
Way
a
to make the
record.
tax code fair.
By the way, that's
make
Rosa
big
DeLaura
corporations
that's
very
over
wealthy
there
begin
looking
to
like a
pay their
fashion
fair
disaster.
share.
I've never
Remember
understood
2020,
who dresses her, but that's a whole nother story.
Made $40 billion and paid zero in federal income tax. Zero. Not anymore. Thanks to the law I wrote and we signed, big companies have to pay a minimum of 15%. But that's still less than working people pay in federal taxes. It's time to raise corporate minimum tax to at least 21%.
Spoken like a guy that's never had a private sector
So
job.
every big corporation finally begins to pay their fair share. I also want to end tax breaks for big pharma, big oil, private jets, massive executive pay when it's only supposed to be $1 million that can be deducted. They can pay them $20 million if they want, but deduct $1 million. End it now. You know, there are 1,000 billionaires in America. You know what the average federal tax is for those billionaires?
What?
No.
No. What's a
They're
multiple
making great
choice?
sacrifices, 8.2%. That's
Oh.
far less than the vast majority
Because
of
why?
Americans
Because they don't
pay.
get a W-2.
No
Oh.
billionaire should pay a lower federal tax rate than a teacher, a sanitation worker, or a
Oh
nurse.
my God. That's just, let's be honest about what's really happening here. How they get paid, it's just a different deal. God, look at the Joint Chiefs. They are like, please just make this over.
A minimum tax for billionaires at 25%, just 25%. You know what that would raise? That would
I
raise
don't know, a lot of hell.
$500 billion
It'd raise a
over
lot
the
of
next
people
10
moving.
years. And imagine what that could do for America. Imagine a future with affordable child care. Millions of families can get they need to go to work to help grow the economy. Imagine a future with paid leave, because no one should have to choose between working and taking care of their sick family member. Imagine the future of home care and
Imagine
elder care
turning the page and let's getting this thing
and
done.
people living with disabilities. So
It's
they
like
can
this is a
stay
John
in their
Lennon song.
homes and family
Imagine
caregivers can
all
finally
the
get the pay
people
they deserve.
living.
Tonight, let's all agree once again to stand up for seniors. Many of my friends on the other side of the aisle want to put Social Security on the chopping block.
No, that's
If anyone here tries to cut Social Security, Medicare, or raise the retirement age, I will stop you.
oh that ooh.
The working people
Man.
who built this country pay more into Social Security
Oh,
than
man, that
millionaires
just
and
had chills
billionaires
to
do.
everyone's spine.
It's not fair.
Oh.
We have two ways to go. Republicans can cut Social Security and give more tax breaks to the wealthy. That's the proposal. Oh, no.
Thank you,
You
June.
guys
She
don't
says
want
she's
another
only sticking
$2
with it
trillion
because of me.
tax
Well, I
cut?
appreciate that. I hope
I
you've
kinda thought
subscribed to
that's
the
what the
channel,
plan
June. Thank you. Hopefully we can all
Well, that's
enjoy this
good to hear.
together.
You're not going to cut another $2 trillion for the super wealth. That's good to hear. I'll protect and strengthen Social Security and make the wealthy pay their fair share. Look, too many corporations raise prices to pad their profits, charging more and more for less and less. That's
Push
why we're
inflation.
cracking down on corporations engaged in price gouging and deceptive pricing, from food to healthcare to housing. In fact, the snack companies think you
Here we go.
won't notice
Potato chips.
if they change the size of the bag and put a hell of a lot fewer, same size bag, put fewer chips in it.
He's
No,
really
I'm not
passionate about the
It's
chips.
called shrinkflation. Pass Bobby Casey's bill and stop this. I really mean it.
He really means it. No joke. Like my uncle used to say, Joey, I mean it.
You probably all saw that commercial on Snickers bars. You get charged the same amount, and you got about, I don't know, 10% fewer Snickers in it.
This is seriously.
Look, I'm also getting rid of junk fees. Those hidden fees at the end of your bill that are there without your knowledge. My administration announced we're cutting credit card late fees from $32 to $8. Banks and credit card companies are allowed to charge what it costs them to instigate the collection. And that's more a hell of a lot like $8 and 30 some dollars. They don't like it. Credit card companies don't like it. But I'm saving American families $20 billion a year with all the junk fees I'm eliminating. Folks at home, that's why the banks are so mad. It's $20 billion in profit. I'm not stopping there. My
Oh,
administration
he's
will
taking on
propose rules
Reese's
to
peanut
make
butter cups
cable,
too.
Travel, utilities, and online ticket sellers tell you the total price up front, so there are no surprises. It matters. It matters. And so does this. In November, my team began serious negotiation with a bipartisan group of senators. The result was a bipartisan bill with the toughest set of border security reforms we've ever seen. Oh, you don't think so? Oh, you don't like that bill, huh? That conservatives got together and said it was a good bill? I'll be darned. That's
No one
amazing.
did. That's not what happened.
Bipartisan bill would hire 1,500 more security agents and officers, 100 more immigration judges to help tackle the backload of 2 million cases, 4,300 more asylum officers.
But my
and new
predecessor,
policies so they can
that's
resolve
what I was gonna
cases
say, my
in
predecessor.
6 months instead of 6 years now. What are you against? 100 more high-tech drug detection machines to significantly increase the ability to screen and stop vehicles smuggling fentanyl into America. That's killing thousands of children.
You open
This
the
bill will
border
save
and then you talk about
lives.
machines. Okay.
and bring order to the border. It will also give me and any new president new emergency
Well, we do need
authority
a new
to temporarily
president.
shut down
Is that
the
in the bill?
border when the number of migrants at the border is overwhelming. The Border Patrol Union has endorsed this bill. The Federal Chamber of Commerce is, yeah. You're saying low. Look at the facts. I know
There we go.
you know how to read. I believe that given the opportunity for a majority in the House and Senate would endorse the bill as well, a majority right now. But unfortunately, politics has derailed this bill so far. I'm told my
horrible.
predecessor called members of Congress
Yeah.
and the Senate to demand they block the bill. He feels political win. He viewed it as a be a political win for me.
No, he just
political
wants to
loser
do
for
his
him.
bill when he gets in.
It's not about him. It's not about me. I'd be a winner. Not really.
That's Marjorie Taylor Greene, by the way.
Lincoln Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed
Oh,
by an illegal. That's right. But how many of thousands of people being killed by illegals? To her parents, I say, my heart goes out to you, having lost children myself. I understand. But look, if we change the dynamic at the border, people pay these smugglers $8,000 to get across the border because they know if they get
that
by,
you've opened
if
it.
they get by and let into the country, it's 6 to 8 years before they have a hearing.
Yes.
And it's worth it taking the chance of the $8,000. But if it's only 6 weeks, the idea is it's highly unlikely that people will pay that money and come all that way, knowing that they'll be able to be kicked out quickly.
Except
Folks,
you'll grant them amnesty and then they'll become citizens.
I would respectfully suggest my Republican friends owe it to the American people, get this bill done. We need to act now.
Yeah, look at the reaction there. Not happening.
And if my predecessor is watching, instead of paying politics and pressuring members of Congress to block the bill, join me in telling the Congress to pass it. We can do it together. But that's what he apparently here's what he will not do. I will not demonize immigrants saying they are poison in the blood of our country. I will not separate families. I will not ban people because of their faith. Unlike my predecessor on my first day in office, I introduced a comprehensive bill to fix our immigration system. Take a look at it. It has all these and more. Secure the border. Provide a pathway to citizenship for dreamers, and so much more.
There you go. See the pathway.
Unlike my predecessor,
There we go. This is what it's really all about.
I know who we are as Americans. We're the only nation in the world with a heart and soul that draws from old and new. Home to Native Americans, whose ancestors have been here for thousands of years. Home to people of every place, from every place on earth. They came freely. Some came in chains. Some came when famine struck, like my ancestral family in Ireland. Some to flee persecution, to chase dreams that are impossible anywhere but here in America. That's America. And we all come from somewhere, but we're all Americans.
There's too many pages left right now. I'm worried.
Look, folks,
Oh, folks,
we have a simple
we're done.
choice.
Turn the
We can
page.
fight about fixing the border, or we
Yes.
can fix it.
Okay. Let's fix it.
I'm ready to fix it. Send me the border bill now. A transformational moment in history happened 59 years ago today in Selma, Alabama. Hundreds of foot soldiers for justice marched across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, named after the Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan, to claim their fundamental right to vote. They were beaten, they were bloody, and left for dead. Our late friend and former colleague, John Lewis, was on that march. We miss him.
Just remember, I don't know if any of you guys saw, I don't mean to get back on the border thing. The former border chief said that he never, ever met with Biden or Kamala Harris. The president of Guatemala said that they've only talked to him once, and it was 3 years ago. I mean, just let's be honest. This is, I get it, it's a talking point, but he kept talking about facts. There's no facts.
Gospel singers and preachers. She sang songs of prayer and protest on that bloody Sunday to help shake the nation's conscience. 5 months later, the Voting Rights Act passed and was signed into law.
Oh, here comes a guest.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But 59 years later, there are forces taking us back in time. Voter suppression, election subversion, unlimited dark money, extreme gerrymandering. John Lewis was a great friend to many of us here. But if you truly want to honor him and all the heroes who marched with him, then it's time to do more than talk. Pass the Freedom to Vote Act, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. And stop denying another core value of America, our diversity across American life. Banning books, it's wrong.
Oh my gosh.
Instead of erasing history,
They are
let's make
digging deep,
history.
folks. I mean, this is
I
unbelievable.
want to protect fundamental rights. Pass the Equality Act. And my message to transgender Americans, I have your back. Pass the PRO Act for workers' rights.
I'm just hoping that he's done and he didn't know to turn the
Raise
page.
federal minimum wage.
This is literally like the
Because
laundry
every
list.
worker has a right to a decent living more than $7 an hour.
No one's making $7 an hour. Cut it out.
We're
This
also
is-
making history by confronting the climate crisis, not denying it. I don't think any of you think there's no longer a climate crisis. At least I hope you don't. I'm taking the most significant action ever on climate in the history of the world.
Of course you have.
I'm cutting our carbon emissions in half by 2030.
No joke, folks.
Creating tens of thousands of clean energy jobs, like the IBEW work is building and installing 500,000 electric vehicle charging stations. Conserving 30% of America's lands and waters by 2030. And taking action on environmental justice fence line communities smothered by the legacy of pollution. And pattern after the Peace Corps and AmeriCorps, I launched the Climate Corps to put 20,000 young people to work in the forefront of our clean energy future.
Well, they
I'll
can
triple
because you
that
just wiped
number
out all
in a
their student debt and
decade.
transferred it to other people. Just say this is over, please. I thought someone would send out the speech.
To state the obvious, all Americans deserve the freedom to be safe. And America is safer today than when I took office.
Nope.
Year before I took office, murder rates went up 30%. 30% they went up. The biggest increase in
I
history.
wonder who that is.
It was then, through my American Rescue Plan, which every American voted against, I might add. we
Every
made
American?
The largest investment in public safety ever. Last year, the murder rate saw the sharpest decrease in history. Violent crime fell to one of its lowest levels in more than 50 years. But we have more
See,
to
the problem
do.
here is that they keep trying to
help
defy
cities
reality.
invest in
You
more
turn on your
community
TV, you
police
see it, whether you live in
more
DC
mental
or
health workers,
San Francisco,
more
you name it.
community
And they're
violence
trying to pretend that it
prevention.
doesn't exist.
Give communities the tool to crack down on gun crime, retail crime, and carjacking.
Yeah, soft on crime,
building trust, as
soft
we've been doing
fund
by
the
taking
police, you get what it is.
executive
It's
action on
San
police
Francisco,
reform.
DC, all these places now passing laws to undo the soft on crime, defund the police policies that got us here. It's not, these cities are all run by your party, bro. It's not, it's their fault.
Be jailed for simply using or have it on their record. Take on crimes of domestic violence. I'm ramping up the federal enforcement of the Violence Against Women Act that I proudly wrote when I was a senator, so we can finally end the scourge against women in America. There are other kinds of violence I want to stop. With us tonight is Jasmine, whose 9-year-old sister Jackie was murdered with 21 classmates and teachers in an elementary school in Uvalde, Texas. Very soon after that happened, Jill and I went to Uvalde for a couple of days. We spent hours and hours with each of the families. We heard their message, so everyone in this room, in this chamber, could hear the same message. The constant refrain, and I was there for hours meeting with every family. They said, do something. Do something. Well, I did do something by establishing the first ever Office of Gun Violence Prevention in the White House, that the Vice President is leading the charge. Thank you for doing it. Meanwhile, my predecessor told the NRA he's proud he did nothing on guns when he was president. Oof. After another shooting in Iowa recently, he said, when asked what to do about it, he said, just get over it. There's his quote, just get over it. I say, stop it. Stop it, stop it, stop it. I'm proud we beat the NRA.
I'm reading these
when
comments.
signed
I don't know
the
how
most
Speaker
significant gun
Johnson is
safety
sitting there
law
either. It's
in
like
nearly 30
the
years
guy's got to be
because
like,
of
how
this
much?
Congress.
He's probably gone through like
We
5
now
glasses
must
of
beat
water.
the NRA again. I'm demanding a ban on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines.
Demand it.
Pass universal background checks. None of this. I taught the Second Amendment for 12 years. None of this violates the Second Amendment. Or
You taught it?
vilifies
Where did you
responsible gun
teach it for
owners.
12 years?
You know, as we manage challenges at home, we're also managing crises abroad, including in the Middle East. I know the last 5 months have been gut-wrenching for so many people, for the Israeli people, for the Palestinian people, and so many here in America.
Is this it?
This crisis began on October 7th with a massacre by a terrorist group called Hamas, as you all know. 1,200 innocent people, women and girls, men and boys, slaughtered after enduring sexual violence.
All right. If I'm
Deadliest day for the Jewish people.
I'm
since
looking at, I got the speech. I'm going to look to see where we are, guys.
250 hostages taken. Here in this chamber tonight are families whose loved ones are still being held by Hamas. I pledge to all the families that we will not rest until we bring every one of your loved ones home.
All right, I got you. Let me
We
close with
also,
this. He's going to talk about AI coming up.
we will also work around the clock to bring home Evan and Paul, Americans being unjustly detained by the Russians and others around the world. Israel has the right to go after Hamas. Hamas ended this conflict by releasing hostages, laying down arms, could end it by releasing the hostages, laying down arms, and surrendering those responsible for October 7th. But Israel has Israel has a added burden because Hamas hides and operates among the civilian population like cowards, under hospitals, daycare centers, and all the like. Israel also has a fundamental responsibility, though, to protect innocent civilians in Gaza. This war
Has taken a greater toll on innocent civilians than all previous wars in Gaza combined.
All innocent civilians in all previous wars in Gaza combined. More than 30,000 Palestinians have been killed, most of whom are not Hamas. Thousands and thousands of innocents, women and children, girls and boys, also orphaned. Nearly 2 million more Palestinians under bombardment or displacement. Homes destroyed, neighborhoods in rubble, cities in ruin, families without food, water, medicine. It's heartbreaking. I've been working nonstop to establish an immediate ceasefire that would last for 6 weeks to get all the prisoners released.
Non-stop, huh? You don't have anything on your schedule, dude.
And ease the intolerable and humanitarian crisis and build toward an enduring, something more enduring. The United States has been leading international efforts to get more humanitarian assistance to Gaza.
Tonight, he's directing the U.S. military to lead an emergency mission to establish a temporary pier in the Mediterranean on the Gaza coast.
A temporary pier in the Mediterranean.
Pretty good, huh?
On the coast of Gaza.
No boots on the ground.
Shipments carrying food, water, medicine, and temporary shelters. No U.S. boots will be on the ground.
Oh, there's too much more left. Oh, God. I hate to tell you guys, I'm thinking like 5-6 minutes.
Getting into Gaza every day. And Israel must do its part. Israel must allow more aid into Gaza to ensure humanitarian workers aren't caught in the crossfire. And they're announcing they're going to have a crossing in northern Gaza. For the leadership of Israel, I say this: humanitarian assistance cannot be a secondary consideration or a bargaining chip. Protecting and saving innocent lives has to be a priority. As we look to the future, the only real solution to the situation is a two-state solution over time. And I say this as a lifelong supporter of Israel. My entire career, no one has a stronger record with Israel than I do. I challenge any of you here. I'm the only American president of Israel in wartime.
Well,
but there is
when else would we have done it? I mean, that's
Israel's security and democracy. There is no other path that guarantees Palestinians can live in peace with peace and dignity. There's no other path that guarantees peace between Israel and all of its neighbors, including Saudi Arabia, with whom I'm talking. Creating stability in the Middle East also means containing the threat posed by Iran. That's why I built a coalition of more than a dozen countries to defend international shipping and freedom of navigation in the Red Sea. I've ordered strikes to degrade the Houthi capability and defend U.S. forces in the region. As Commander-in-Chief, I will not hesitate to direct further measures to protect our people and our military personnel.
Here we go. He's going to talk about China, and he's going to get this wrong.
For years, I've heard many of my Republican and Democratic friends say that China is on the rise and America's falling behind. They've got it backwards. I've been saying it for over 4 years, even when I wasn't president. America's rising. We have the best economy in the world. And since I've come to office, our GDP is up, our trade deficit with China is down to the lowest point in over a decade. And we're standing up against China's unfair economic practices. We're standing up for peace and stability across the Taiwan Straits. I've revitalized our partnership and alliance in the Pacific. India, Australia, Japan, South Korea, Pacific Islands. I've made sure that the most advanced American technologies can't be used in China, not allowing to trade them there. Frankly, for all this tough talk on China, it never occurred to my predecessor to do any of that. I want competition with China, not conflict. And we're in a stronger position to win the conflict of the 21st century against China than anyone else, for that matter, than any time.
He's going to go into AI.
Here at home, I've signed over 400 bipartisan bills. There's more to pass my unity agenda. Strengthen penalties on fentanyl trafficking. You don't want to do that, huh? Pass bipartisan privacy legislation to protect our children online. Harness.
Okay, by the way, the line that you got to wait for that's coming up, he's going to say in just a second, we owe it to ourselves. And then he says, let me close with this. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. That line is key. Let me close with this.
To train and equip those we send into harm's way and care for them and their families when they come home and when they don't. That's why the song Support and Help of Dennis and the VA, I signed the PACT Act. One of the most significant laws ever, helping millions of veterans exposed to toxins who now are battling more than 100 different cancers. Many of them don't come home, but we owe them and their families support. We owe it to ourselves to keep supporting our new health research agency called ARPA-H, and remind us that we can do big things.
Here we go.
Like end cancer as we know it, and we will.
Here we go. Let me close with this. Thank goodness. Here we go. Here we go. Let me close with this.
Let me close with this. Yay. I know you don't want to hear any more, Lindsay, but I got to say a few more things. I know it may not look like it, but I've been around a while. When you get to be my age, certain things become clearer than ever. I know the American story. Again and again, I've seen the contest between competing forces in the battle for the soul of our nation. Between those who want to pull America back to the past and those who want to move America into the future. My lifetime has taught me to embrace freedom and democracy, a future based on core values that have defined America: honesty, decency, dignity, equality, to respect everyone, to give everyone a fair shot, to give hate no safe harbor. Now, other people my age see it differently. The American story of resentment, revenge, and retribution, that's not me. I was born amid World War II when America stood for the freedom of
Thanks
the
for
world.
reminding us.
I grew up in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Claymont, Delaware, among working class people who built this country. I watched in horror as two of my heroes, like many of you did, Dr. King and Bobby Kennedy, were assassinated. And their legacies inspired me to pursue a career in service. I left the law firm and became a public defender because my city of Wilmington was the only city in America occupied by the National Guard after Dr. King was assassinated because of the riots. And I became a county councilman almost by accident. I got elected to the United States Senate when I had no intention of running at age 29. Then vice president of our first black president. Now president to the first women vice president.
First woman. Woman, not women. And maybe that's how she identifies.
In my career, I've been told I was too young. By the way, they didn't let me on the Senate elevators for votes sometimes. Not a joke.
Of course not.
And I've been told I'm too old.
Yes.
Whether
That's
young
true.
or old, I've always known what endures. I've known our North Star. The very idea of America is that we're all created equal, deserves to be treated equally throughout our lives. We've never fully lived up to that idea, but we've never walked away from it either. And I won't walk away from it now.
All right, we're getting there,
I'm
folks. I'm looking
optimistic.
at this thing. I mean, you've got a couple more lines.
Optimistic,
Sorry.
Nancy. My fellow Americans, the issue facing our nation isn't how old we are, it's how old are our ideas. Hate, anger, revenge, retribution are the oldest of ideas. But you can't lead America with ancient ideas that only take us back. You lead America, the land of possibilities. You need a vision for the future and what can and should be done. Tonight you've heard mine. I see a future where defending democracy, you don't diminish it. I see a future where we restore the right to choose and protect our freedoms, not take them away. I see a future where the middle class finally has a fair shot and the wealthy have to pay their fair share in taxes. I see a future where we save the planet from the climate crisis and our country from gun violence.
Okay, this
Above
is it.
all,
We're getting there. Last 10 lines. This is it. I
see a
promise
future
you.
for all Americans.
Yeah, I believe in
I
the
see a
you, the
country
American
for
people.
all Americans. And I will always be president for all Americans.
Yeah.
Because I believe in America. I believe in you, the American people. You're the reason we've never been more optimistic about our future than I am now. So let's build the future together. Let's remember
Here we go.
who we are.
This is it.
We are the United States of America. And there is nothing beyond our capacity when we act together. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay. Whoa, smokes. I think that's the first time that Mike Johnson, the speaker, has stood up. I mean, he sat there the whole time. That says a lot. There wasn't one thing that got him out of his chair. I mean, I think that's pretty significant. By the way, thank you for sticking with me and spending this night with us. I've enjoyed your comments. If you can, please take the time right now to go hit that subscribe button and notification. I love doing these live chats. We've done them on Sunday nights. We did one the other night for results on Super Tuesday. We'll continue to do them throughout the cycle leading up. We got the convention, the debates. Well, who knows? But if you subscribe and hit that notification button, you will never get off. And if you can help, please, as we head into the weekend, share this with people. Again, it's all free. Everyone's getting jammed up on all these costs. I mean, he talked about how everything is in the country. This is free. And I get great sponsors to help put it on so you don't have to pay for it. But the only thing I'd ask of you is please subscribe on YouTube and Rumble. Hit that Apple button on if you get your audio podcast there so that it helps grow that as well. And then spread the word. Tell people, hey, tune into Sean's show. It streams every night at 6 o'clock and all the things. We've got great guests tomorrow. As I mentioned, Roger Stone will be here to give us his analysis of where the race stands and kind of what happened to him. Because the narrative that the media tells you about Roger Stone is not true. But look, the president's going to take his time getting out of there, I think, because he loves this. He is going to, dilly-dally. And this is, because he's probably got nothing on his schedule tomorrow. But so let's see how long he's not even is he at the center aisle? I can't even tell. So he's got to go. You see the chief of naval operations, Lisa Franchetti. She is the arm that you can barely see, not the one, the blonde hair. She's to the left. Anyway, that should be, I think, the center aisle right there. So hopefully he gets moving. I think that's Senator Richard Blumenthal right there, standing in front of him. Bill Pascrell is the guy with the gray hair to his left that's wearing the Ukraine colors. Looks like a weirdo. I think that's Greg Meeks, the black gentleman there with the gray hair and the glasses from New York, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, just let him get up the aisle and get out. The Republican response is coming up. Katie Britt, the junior senator from Alabama. A lot of people talking about Katie Britt being the in the mix for VP. I actually, I'm going to tell you this right now. I don't think she ultimately gets the pick. But she's at least on the radar. And I think tonight will be interesting how she does. It's interesting. Sarah Sanders gave a really good response a year ago. Was she last year or 2 years ago? But mostly a lot of these folks who do the response don't fare well. Right. It just, and it's a lot of pressure. It's difficult going after the president of the United States because you don't know what he's going to say. It's not really a response. You're not responding to him because you've already written your response. It's Henry Cuellar from Texas right there talking to him now. I think he's the only pro-life Democrat left in the House or the Senate for that matter. So we'll see what she does. I'm going to be interested in how she frames everything. And because she's new and there's a lot of pressure on this. How do you craft it? How do you not look too folksy? How do you hit the right policy? So we'll see. Anyway, that should be coming up, but they're going to wait for him to get out of here. So he's not moving very fast, and I get it. It's late. You know, so we'll see. But for goodness sakes, like and the other thing is, you got to imagine for Biden, who is in the Senate forever, I think this is kind of cool for him to come back and to see a lot of these folks. And this is like the one time he has, as I said, he has nothing on his schedule. But, you know, so this is it. This is the one chance that he has to talk to these people, or that they actually probably have to him. Senator Chris Van Hollen of Maryland off to the right there. I think, is that Patrick Leahy? I can't tell. Anyway, yeah, so he's not moving. And, you know, Biden can't help himself. Thank you, Matthew, by the way, for the kind words. Reading enough of these notes. Again, if you can, please go hit the subscription button while we wait. A lot of stuff came out of the RNC right now, putting it up on the screen, that just shows he kept talking about my predecessor. And when I came in, take a look at that. Average monthly payment on a new car, $575 under Trump, $736 under Biden. The RNC was doing a great job fact-checking stuff in real time. Look at this. The prices under Joe Biden. Food costs up 21%. Rent costs 19%. Power up 29%. Seth Denson was on the show today. He's really smart on the economic stuff. And one of the points that he made, and this gets overlooked sometimes, is there's inflation and then there's core inflation, right? There's things that you need, food, rent. And when you really look at the core inflation, that hasn't subsided. You know, when you go to the grocery store now, I think, what was I did this a few weeks ago. I went and bought a flank steak because I was told to. I couldn't believe it. I always love cooking a flank steak in the summer. And I came home and I said to my wife, this thing went nuts. It was like $30. We don't do it often, so it's not that big of a deal. But I was like, the cost of so many things is just out of range for a lot of people now. And I mean, look at that. Median household income adjusted for inflation has dropped. You're making less purchasing power. And with interest rates going through the roof and inflation still high, if you had a car payment or anything that was adjustable, a credit card, boom, it's going way up. Oil and heat and all that kind of stuff. So it's I think it's a combination of living in a bubble where he gets to live in the White House, doesn't have it, never having a real private sector job, never having worked in the private sector. I mean, look, you know, he 29, he's elected, he was a councilman, all this. The guy's been in government way too long. So he doesn't know what it's like. And I think that's important to note. I will say this. We talked about how late he was, and I think that'll just get ignored tomorrow. So whatever. He did go for, what is it, almost an hour and change. I don't think it's that tough. I've said this before on the show. In fact, I think I probably said it multiple times this week. A speech is a speech. Standing upright and reading a teleprompter and actually flipping the pages, we'll add that in, is not the hardest thing in the world to do. I mean, he really hasn't moved, has he? Oh my goodness, get him going. He loves this. I mean, I got to think that he's, oh, here we go. Push forward. For goodness sakes, get him going. I mean, I think Jill's probably like, let's go. Probably somebody trying to sign. I mentioned this as we started. Keep in mind, no one had a speech. And I was reading along at the end because one of the folks on the show sent me the transcript as the White House put out. He deviated a bunch. And what I can't tell was that him deviating from the prepared remarks, winging it, or did the speech keep changing? And it could be a little of both, to be honest with you. So if you go on Twitter, by the way, and go to RNC Research, I'll admit, my bias on this. They fact check this stuff in real time, and the department, the research folks at the RNC are really good at what they do. I mean, check this out. Like, he says he taught the Second Amendment for 12 years. He was paid $1 million by the University of Pennsylvania. He never taught a single class. He will not get called out on this. All those fact checkers that were there during Trump, I don't know what they're doing. Maybe they moved on, but none of them are going to be asked about this. Someone just said, hey, are there any blue dogs, Democrats left? No, they're gone. There are none. But if you can go onto Twitter and follow RNC Research, you'll get a lot of great fact checks, fact sheets, insight as to what happened. what to give you some pushback when you get asked tomorrow about all these ridiculous things that he said. I'm looking at my notes here. He started off with the democracy was under attack, and yet never actually said what it was. Like, how is democracy under attack? We can still vote. Nothing has changed on that front, and I just don't. It's a throwaway line that the media and the left keeps using. And as I said, look at what they're doing, right? They canceled the Florida Democratic primary. They try to kick Trump off a ballot, and they're preventing third parties from getting on the ballot. You want to talk about getting rid of democracy or undermining democracy. There you go. That's it. I do wonder if he's intentionally slowing this down. I mean, I don't know that he is aware, but like, come on. Hopefully, Katie Britt just goes. I hope she does at some point, because this is getting insane. And there's nothing of value that we need to see the president stand there and chat with people. So I hope he just at some point just rolls with it and goes. This really was a campaign speech. I mean, how many times did he say my predecessor? This was, here's what I stand for. This wasn't a State of the Union. I get it. They become more political. But you're supposed to talk about what's the state of the union. It was all about his predecessor. This really was a campaign speech. The tone. Look, I'll give Biden credit once in a while for giving a good speech. It's not hard to give a good speech. You've got really talented people that write it. You stand and read it. You practice it a bunch. He's got nothing else on his schedule. But this was like Dark Brandon being really angry. He's just yelling and yelling and yelling. I don't think that came off well. We'll see. Maybe the left likes that. Maybe they like him yelling. Maybe that was their way of showing that he's fighting. I don't know. I'm being serious. Like, I will give credit for giving a good speech whenever it's due, because it's not hard. When you spent that many years as a politician, you've given enough speeches. It's not like it's a tough thing. It's not like you're saying, hey, go do 50 push-ups or do a flip. Reading a speech is not hard. I'm reading a couple of these comments. Why is Biden so angry? This is not, Speaker of the House needs a neck massage. He seemed unusually coherent tonight. I don't know. I thought he mumbled a bunch through some of these words. He couldn't say GDP correctly. I can't tell, but also he went through a litany of things. It was just, how many of these things can I say? Who is that behind? That's not Lindsey Graham, is it? It wouldn't surprise me. See right there? Is that Lindsey? It is. No. Yeah. Right there to the right, the red, white, and blue. Is that? I can't tell. The head's cut up. No, I don't think it is. Nope. It wouldn't have surprised me. But anyway, let me get back. I said this at the time. He started going off about Roe versus Wade. My third book is called Radical Nation. We go through all Biden's policies and his evolution. And I document, and again, it's not like, guessing. I use citations. And he is quoted as saying Roe was wrongly decided. That's his view. He talks about being personally pro-life. And then he switched. So it's just funny that he has the gall to attack everybody for standing up for life when that was his position. And he's on record saying what he said about Roe. I get it. That's not where the Democratic Party is now, so you have to go crazy left. But the reality is that wasn't his position. It can't be that extreme, right? Because it was his. It is now. His information on the deficit, I can't believe they allowed him to bring that up. I mean, I guess if you have a complicit media and you're not going to fact check, well, who cares? But he didn't cut the deficit. The bipartisan COVID spending came to an end. Shutting off that spigot does not mean you cut anything. It's a cute talking point, and that's about it. Yeah, and as I said at one point, this really was just a string of Democratic talking points. It's almost like there was a whiteboard of, you know, we must end gun violence. We must do that. And it just sort of, they're like, let's take those 4, those 3, and put them together. I mean, that's what it was. I cannot believe that we're approaching 11 o'clock and we're not airing the Katie Britt speech. This is getting crazy. If I were her, I would just say, let's go. What are they waiting for? He can't just stand in the chamber. It's not rude because he decided to hang out for have conversations. They should air the speech, air Katie Britt. Let's go. It's becoming 11 o'clock. I don't get it. What is holding this up? And I wish I could say that there was some strategy here, but I don't think that they can think. I mean, that's not. I just don't think that's there. And he will hold court for as long as he can because I'm sure there's nothing on the schedule tomorrow. Yeah, I'm reading this here. He wants all the attention. He's going to suck it up while he can. You know, while these people fawn all over him and say, "Can you sign this? And can you do that?" It'll be interesting to see how long Katie Britt speaks. Hopefully, it's quick. I mean, there's really not. I mean, I hate to say this. Again, it's not really a response. It's a counter speech. So I hope, at some point, I just keep looking at some of the other screens I have. They're doing some reaction out there in Statuary Hall. So I've done this a bunch because I haven't worked up there. Statuary Hall is that center point in the Capitol between the House and the Senate, where the dome is, right above it, right? And there's all the statues, a good chunk of them anyway. Every state gets 2 statues. They're spread throughout the Capitol area, but a good chunk of them are in there called Statuary Hall where they are. And all of the media outlets get a stand-up position. And they'll stand there and members will come up and give their reaction. And again, this is ridiculous. The Dems get up there and say, "Oh, it's a great speech. He promised all these things." And the Republicans, whatever, it's all pomp and circumstance. I wonder, look at that. Washington Post, fiery Biden takes on JP, makes the case for second term. Again, that's it. Even the Washington Post is admitting it. That's a campaign speech. Fiery? I mean, just because you yell, are you fiery? I don't know. I thought it was pretty weird. It's yelling for 55 or whatever an hour. Makes the case for a second term. That's a campaign speech. At least the Washington Post is willing to admit it. I think that's pretty nuts. Tammy Duckworth there to his right. She's the senator from Illinois. She's the VA assistant secretary of VA under Obama. But he does not look like he's moving. I don't get it. I mean, the guy, like maybe they just he napped all afternoon or something. What's he got in his hand? I mean, he has not made much progress, and no one's trying to get him. I don't think they can. The funny thing is, I would guess that Jill Biden is probably going, "Let's go." Like maybe they do have a separate car, but I doubt it. I guarantee they rode together, which isn't always the case. The First Lady sometimes travels separately. She has her own motorcade, and maybe she does want to get out of there. But I would have assumed they would be together tonight. 68 minutes total length, I'm being told. But I'm hoping, yeah, look at that. Biden goes right for the jugular. Oh, give me a break. Oh, that just tells you how different we see the world, right? These leftist reporters all think this is great. All this spending, more government, attacking the right, standing up for democracy. Unbelievable. Yeah, I can't believe that we're not getting this Katie Britt speech yet. I mean, this is, at some point, she has a right to just go. Takes on GOP hecklers. Give me a break. It is almost like 2 separate things are happening. Fired up Biden. Oh, it's so rich to look at these headlines. I mean, if you ever wondered I mean, no, you're not wondering. That's probably a stupid thing to say because you know where the media is right now. I mean, these guys are all doing backflips to do what he says, to write the talking points that the White House has sent out, to make sure that there's no accountability. I mean, it's pretty insane. Again, as we wait for that Republican response from Katie Britt, do me a favor, please take time to just hit that subscribe button and notification button. I love doing these lives. We've got plenty more to go, and so as we gear up throughout this election cycle, you want to make sure you're notified. So doing that, and as I said, just to be completely transparent, it's super helpful. I appreciate it because it helps us when we go to sponsors and try to grow the show, that we can show how many people are out there subscribed to it, et cetera. So this is super helpful. And like I said, if you can take a second this weekend and go over to Apple or Spotify, wherever you listen to your Apple ones, and just hit that subscribe button, it actually really helps. So thank you for doing that. We're going to do more of these things. And a lot going to happen. Oh, here we go. Katie Britt, ladies and gentlemen, in a kitchen.
Proud wife and mom of 2 school-aged kids. My daughter Bennett and my son Ridgway are why I ran for the Senate. I'm worried about their future and the future of children in every corner of our nation. And that's why I invited you into our home tonight. Like so many families across America, my husband Wesley and I just watched President Biden's State of the Union address from our living room. And what we saw was the performance of a permanent politician who has actually been in office for longer than I've been alive. One thing was quite clear, though. President Biden just doesn't get it. He's out of touch. Under his administration, families are worse off, our communities are less safe, and our country is less secure. I just wish he understood what real families are facing around kitchen tables just like this one. You know, this is where our family has tough conversations. It's where we make hard decisions. It's where we share the good, the bad, and the ugly of our days. It's where we laugh together. And it's where we hold each other's hands and pray for God's guidance. And many nights, to be honest, it's where Wesley and I worry. I know we're not alone. And so tonight, the American family needs to have a tough conversation, because the truth is, we're all worried about the future of our nation. The country we know and love seems to be slipping away, and it feels like the next generation will have fewer opportunities and less freedoms than we did. I worry my own children may not even get a shot at living their American dreams. My American dream allowed me, the daughter of 2 small business owners from rural Enterprise, Alabama, to be elected to the United States Senate at the age of 40. Growing up, sweeping the floor at my dad's hardware store and cleaning the bathroom at my mom's dance studio, I never could have imagined what my story would entail. To think about what the American dream can do across just one generation, in just one lifetime, it's truly breathtaking. But right now, the American dream has turned into a nightmare for so many families. The true, unvarnished state of our union begins and ends with this: our families are hurting. Our country can do better. And you don't have to look any further than the crisis at our southern border to see it. President Biden inherited the most secure border of all time. But minutes after taking office, he suspended all deportations, he halted construction of the border wall, and he announced a plan to give amnesty to millions. We know that President Biden didn't just create this border crisis, he invited it with 94 executive actions in his first 100 days. When I took office, I took a different approach. I traveled to the Del Rio sector of Texas. That's where I spoke to a woman who shared her story with me. She had been sex trafficked by the cartels starting at the age of 12. She told me not just that she was raped every day, but how many times a day she was raped. The cartels put her on a mattress in a shoebox of a room, and they sent men through that door over and over again for hours and hours on end. We wouldn't be okay with this happening in a third world country. This is the United States of America, and it is past time, in my opinion, that we start acting like it. President Biden's border policies are a disgrace. This crisis is despicable. And the truth is, it is almost entirely preventable. From fentanyl poisonings to horrific murders, there are empty chairs tonight at kitchen tables just like this one because of President Biden's senseless border policies. Just think about Laken Riley. In my neighboring state of Georgia, this beautiful 22-year-old nursing student went out on a jog one morning, but she never got the opportunity to return home. She was brutally murdered by one of the millions of illegal border crossers President Biden chose to release into our homeland. Y'all, as a mom, I can't quit thinking about this. I mean, this could have been my daughter. This could have been yours. And tonight, President Biden finally said her name. But he refused to take responsibility for his own actions. Mr. President, enough is enough. Innocent Americans are dying, and you only have yourself to blame. Fulfill your oath of office, reverse your policies, end this crisis, and stop the suffering. Sadly, we know that President Biden's failures don't stop there. His reckless spending dug our economy into a hole and sent the cost of living through the roof. We have the worst inflation in 40 years and the highest credit card debt in our nation's history. Let that sink in. Hardworking families are struggling to make ends meet today. And with soaring mortgage rates and sky-high childcare costs, they're also struggling to how to plan for tomorrow. The American people are scraping by while President Biden proudly proclaims that Bidenomics is working. Goodness, y'all, bless his heart. We know better. I'll never forget stopping at a gas station in Chilton County one evening. The gentleman working the counter told me that after retiring, he had to pick up a job in his 70s so that he didn't have to choose between going hungry or going without his medication. He said, I did everything right. I did everything I was told to do. I worked hard, I saved, I was responsible. He's not alone. I hear similar concerns from fellow parents, whether I am walking with my friends or whether I'm at my kids' games. But let's be honest, it's been a minute since Joe Biden pumped gas, ran a carpool, or even pushed a grocery cart. Meanwhile, the rest of us see our dollar and we know it doesn't go as far. We see it every day. And despite what he tells you, our communities are not safer. For years, the left has coddled criminals and defunded the police, all while letting repeat offenders walk free. The result is tragic, but foreseeable. From our small towns to America's most iconic city streets, life is getting more and more dangerous. And unfortunately, President Biden's weakness isn't just hurting families here at home. He is making us a punchline on the world stage. Look, where I'm from, your word is your bond. But for 3 years, the president has demonstrated that America's word doesn't mean what it used to. From abandoning our allies in his disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan to desperately pushing another dangerous deal with Iran, President Biden has failed. We've become a nation in retreat, and the enemies of freedom, they see an opportunity. Putin's brutal aggression in Europe has put our allies on the brink. Iran's terrorist proxies have slaughtered Israeli, Jews, and American citizens. They've targeted commercial shipping, and they've attacked our troops nearly 200 times since October, killing 3 US soldiers and 2 Navy SEALs. Meanwhile, the Chinese Communist Party is undercutting America's workers. China is buying up our farmland, spying on our military installations, and spreading propaganda through the likes of TikTok. You see, the CCP knows that if it conquers the minds of our next generation, it conquers America. And what does President Biden do? Well, he bans TikTok for government employees, but creates an account for his own campaign. Y'all, you can't make this stuff up. Look, we all recall when presidents faced national security threats with strength and resolve. That seems like ancient history. Right now, our commander-in-chief is not in command. The free world deserves better than a dithering and diminished leader. America deserves leaders who recognize that secure borders, stable prices, safe streets, and a strong defense are actually the cornerstones of a great nation. Just ask yourself, are you better off now than you were 3 years ago? There's no doubt we're at a crossroads, and it doesn't have to be this way. We all feel it. But here's the good news. We, the people, are still in the driver's seat. We get to decide whether our future will grow brighter or whether we'll settle for an America in decline. Well, I know which choice our children deserve, and I know the choice the Republican Party is fighting for. We are the party of hard-working parents and families, and we want to give you and your children the opportunities to thrive. And we want families to grow. It's why we strongly support continued nationwide access to in vitro fertilization. We want to help loving moms and dads bring precious life into this world. Wesley and I believe there is no greater blessing in life than our children. And that's why tonight, I want to make a direct appeal to the parents out there, and in particular to my fellow moms, many of whom I know will be up tossing and turning at 2 a.m., wondering how you're going to be in 3 places at once and then somehow still get dinner on the table. First of all, we see you, we hear you, and we stand with you. I know you're frustrated. I know you're probably disgusted by most of what you see going on in Washington, and I'll be really honest with you, you're not wrong for feeling that way. Look, I get it. The task in front of us isn't an easy one, but I can promise you one thing. It is worth it. So I am asking you, for the sake of your kids and your grandkids, get into the arena. Every generation has been called to do hard things. American greatness rests in the fact that we always answer that call. It's who we are. Never forget, we are steeped in the blood of patriots who overthrew the most powerful empire in the world. We walk in the footsteps of pioneers who tamed the wild. We now carry forward the same flame of freedom as the liberators of an oppressed Europe. We continue to draw courage from those who bent the moral arc of the universe. And when we gaze upon the heavens, never forget that our DNA contains the same ingenuity that put man on the moon. America has been tested before, and every single time we've emerged unbowed and unbroken. Our history has been written with the grit of men and women who got knocked down. But we know their stories because they did not stay down. We are here because they stood back up. So now it's our turn, our moment to stand up and prove ourselves worthy of protecting the American dream. Together, we can reawaken the heroic spirit of a great nation. Because America, we don't just have a rendezvous with destiny. We take destiny's hand and we lead it. Our future starts around kitchen tables just like this, with moms and dads just like you. And you are why I believe with every fiber of my being that despite the current state of our union, our best days are still ahead. May God bless you, and may God continue to bless these United States of America.
All right. Katie Britt, junior senator from Alabama.
Was Alabama Senator.
Look, I think she did a fantastic job there. I said earlier, it's interesting. It's challenging to give a response because you have to write this thing pretty much not knowing what the president's going to say. I mean, you have an idea, right? They do enough. And sometimes you hit the mark and sometimes you don't. Some of these past ones have been quirky. I think she laid out a very compelling case right there. Talk about what he has done, what he has not done, and what we should be striving for. I give her a lot of credit. I think she's a good spokesman for the movement. I'm reading some of the comments. But look, we need people that are going to articulate America First, conservative agenda issues and policies in a compelling way. I think she did a good job. I think she really did make a strong case. If I were watching that and I had to pick, I'd go with that one versus, I think Biden going on and giving a litany of stuff. Katie Britt talked to us like individuals that are concerned about things that we see at our kitchen table, that our families deal with, that our country's dealing with. So anyway, and I think the tone was great. Biden yelled. She had a conversation. Much better. Well delivered. I think she's going to get high marks from that. I think, there's no question from what I've been told that she is definitely being considered for vice president. I see a lot of the comments coming in. I'll be interested to hear what you think. We'll obviously be talking about this in the days and weeks to come. Tomorrow, as I mentioned on the show, Roger Stone, 6 o'clock, we stream, 7 o'clock on the 1st. Again, my plea, please subscribe, share with your friends this weekend. If you get the episode with Roger tomorrow, please do me a favor, share it with folks. You'll learn a lot about, I'm going to talk to him a lot about his evolution in politics and his relationship with President Trump, and then his advice for President Trump. I'm going to talk to him about who he thinks he should pick. Anyway, thanks for being with us tonight, guys. I've enjoyed this. I appreciate all of you. I loved your comments. I'm reading along. I think it was fun. I always love doing these live things. We've been here now 2.5 hours. And so it's a long night. Got up early. I got to do a lot of radio tomorrow, talk about this. So I'll see you back here tomorrow at 6 o'clock on the show. Roger Stone, as I said, will be here. Please take the time to subscribe and have a great weekend if I don't talk to you before that. Take care.